2021, the Kenya Sign Language Bill, Senate Bills number 5 of 2011, the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bill number 6 of 2021. Apart from being an MP, Mr. Speaker, he was also the Vice Chairman of the Special Funds Accounts Committee and a member of Committee on Appointments. In 1997 to 2003, Mr. Speaker, he had a senior position at the Office of the President. He also worked as the long-serving personal assistant and private secretary to the late Honorable Nicholas Biwott, who was a very powerful minister during the Kano era, Mr. Speaker. I wish to, on behalf of the great people of Ainabkoi constituency, and indeed on my own behalf, convey our sincere condolences to his family, friends, and the people of the larger Uasin for this great loss. Honorable Speaker, with your indulgence, I request that you will allow that we all stand to observe a minute of silence in honor of the departed, the late Honorable William Chirchir Chepkut. Fare thee well, Honorable Chepkut. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. All the honorable members, in honor of our departed colleague and friend, I order that we stand and observe a minute's silence. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 9. Debate on the motion. Debate on the address by the President. Fourth and last allotted day.
Yes, Honorable Ngeno.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I thought, Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, we should have allowed members to at least convey their condolences, Mr. Speaker.
We have already moved to the next order. You showed no indication that you wanted to say anything.
I was already on a point of order, Mr. Speaker, and yeah, he is assisting member.
I will get the Honorable Deputy Speaker to give you 15 minutes to make brief comments. Remember, we have a scheduled matter that should be debated and interrupted. But this is an extraordinary matter, and I will allow 15 minutes of 3-3 on either side to make comments and eulogize our departed friend.
Member for Garissa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me, on behalf of the people of Garissa and on my own behalf, send my condolences to the family, friends of the former Member of Parliament for Ainabkoi, the Honorable Chepkut. Chepkut was with us in the 12th Parliament. We will remember him. He was a very humorous man, but I'm sure the person who will miss him most is the former president. Uhuru Kenyatta, because there was no one time that Chepkut will get an opportunity on the floor of the House and he will fail to remember the then Commander-in-Chief of the Kenyan Defense Forces, a five-star general. He used to say the five-star general. But this man, who today we are remembering, has a very long history. This is another total man. This is a man who worked with Nicholas Biwott for many years. And as he goes down, and as we bury him next Tuesday, he's going down with a lot of experience. He was a man who could pick a call. If you want to speak to Mzee Moi, let Mzee Moi. And one day, Madam Speaker, he told me, do you want to speak to Mzee Moi? And I thought he was joking. And he picked a call, and in 1 second, I was on the other line with Mzee Moi. That's how powerful Chepkut was. So, Madam Speaker, I am sure among the many, many other great leaders of this House we have lost, let me ask all members that in good faith through Honorable Chepkonga, we contribute, those who can, and we attend his burial on Tuesday next week in remembrance of him and the people he represented. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable members, those who want to speak on eulogizing Honorable Chepkonga, or Chepkut, sorry, my apologies. My apologies. Yes, I think then you should put the intervention button so that we don't interfere with the debate time. So I think now we'll have the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, Leader of Majority.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Maybe just before we retreat for House business, let me take this opportunity also on behalf of the people of Kikuyu and many other Kenyans who knew the late Honorable Chepkut, convey our very heartfelt condolences to his immediate family and the people of Ainabkoi constituency. Honorable Speaker, as the ranking member, the Honorable Aden Duale, has said, the Honorable Chepkut had his usual seat on the front bench here, just right where the Honorable Dr. Mutunga is seated. And we all remember him from his humor. Honorable Speaker, every time he stood up to speak in this chamber, he had to refer to His Excellency the President, who is the Commander-in-Chief and a five-star general. And Honorable Speaker, many of us found humor in his speech. And he was indeed a very amiable person with everybody, a friend to everybody across the political divide. I do not think there is anybody who worked with the Honorable Chepkut in the last parliament who would say that he ever stepped on his toes in any way. A very amiable person, a likable character, and a seasoned civil servant who served not just as a district officer in the early Kanu days, but also served as a personal assistant to the late Honorable Biwott. And with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, let us all pray for his family and pray that his soul may rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Honorable members, I will give member from Mbeere North.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for the opportunity to address the House for the first time. Madam Speaker, I'm trying to be Member of Parliament for Mbeere North, but I failed in 2013 and 2017. So for me, this is a dream that come true. And for this, I'm grateful and humbled by the trust for the people of Mbeere have bestowed upon me. I undertake, Madam Speaker, to serve both those who voted for me and those who did not vote for me. Madam Speaker,
the time is...
I am arrived of the functions...
Honorable Member from Bere, you're actually going to your maiden speech. You should have focused yourself on eulogizing the Honorable Chepkut.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I'm arrived to the functions of the House, namely to represent the electorate and to registrate and to oversight the executive. Madam Speaker,
Honorable Member, maybe you can leave the rest of the time and then you will come back to make your maiden speech after. Yes. So now we can go to Member for Mgwen.
Okay. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. On behalf of Mgwenians and myself, I want to pass my message of condolence for the loss of former member of this House, Honorable Chepkut. I want to ask every member in this House for the support that they may need. Let's generously give so that we can allow Chepkut, we can give him a decent send-off. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Just hold on a moment. Honorable Member for Mwingi Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to eulogize our colleague and friend, the Honorable late William Chepkut, the Member of Parliament, former Member of Parliament for Ainambokoi. Madam Speaker, I recall the late as a very humorous person. He was the smartest person in this house, always in a three-piece suit and very humorous. And I therefore, on behalf of myself, my family, and the people of Mwingi Central, wish to condole the family of the late and the constituency for the loss of this humorous and a very good person. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kimilili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to eulogize my friend, the former Member of Parliament for Ainambokoi constituency. And I may say that we will remember Chepkut as being a very generous man. This is a man who was willing to share the little that he had to the people who are disadvantaged, Madam Speaker. And also, we will remember him as a hands-on person. This is a Member of Parliament whom, when there is a matter that affects his electorates, he will call even a government officer responsible and put that government officer on speaker. He was a hands-on man, and I think even as he passes on and we celebrate his life, I think there is a lot of things that we must learn from our horrible Chepkut, and may the Almighty God rest his soul in eternal peace and continue to stand with the people of Ainambokoi constituency. I thank you.
I think the time is up. We've got 4 more minutes. 4 more minutes. Yes. The member for Seme.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me opportunity
to eulogize our colleague. On behalf of the people of Seme, on behalf of myself, take this opportunity to pass my sincere condolences to his family and his constituency. Madam Speaker, though hilarious and humorous, this was an extremely serious man. I know that, Madam Speaker, because when I was in the executive, we worked with him. And behind all that humor, he was a serious, hard-working person. But I also appreciate that in this House, regardless of how tense things were, how much we differed, when he took to the floor, actually everybody listened, and with his humor, he put everybody at peace, but managed in a way to pass his message, and very diligently and in support of the people that elected him and in the service of those people. Let the Almighty God rest his soul in eternal peace.
Member for Kabuchai.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, allowing me to eulogize with my good friend. Madam Speaker, this is the person I saw throughout his life. Whenever he was on phone or addressing anybody, he never missed the word sir or madam. This is a man, Madam Speaker, who gave respect to anybody that he ever called. Madam Speaker, I come together to eulogize with the House. This Cecil, good friend of ours, he has left us. Madam Speaker, you are not wrong, because when you talk to Chepkonga, the name go almost the same with the area MP. Thank you, Madam Speaker. May God rest his soul in eternal peace. Thank you.
Member for Vihiga County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to take this opportunity to pass our condolences to the people of Vihiga County and myself to the family of the late William, who was a former member of Parliament who used to sit with us here. He was very humorous. He used to make us laugh. Wherever you meet him, he was always laughing. As a Parliament, we are going to miss his humorous way of talking, and he never used to segregate people. He used to laugh with everybody. We are now condoling with the family and asking God to give them strength at this trying moment as they mourn their departed father, brother, and uncle. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I think now we can revert back to the motion and on the remarks on the President's speech, and we will pick from where we left off last time. I don't have the name of the member of the county, but it is Honorable Abdikadir Muhammad. I think was interrupted at that last. You may proceed.
Opportunity. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the President's speech. First of all, I wish to thank my constituents, Lagdera constituency, for electing me to represent them in the 13th Parliament. Madam Speaker, I also wish to congratulate you for having elected to be the Speaker. For having elected to be the Speaker of this House, Deputy Speaker of this House. Madam Speaker, if I go straight to the President's speech, the President's speech on paragraph 48 spoke. The President on paragraph 48 said that we wish, on the ongoing drought in northern Kenya or the entire country, the President said that it is climate change is the problem for all this. But he also said we have to invest in, for climate change to change, we have to, okay, the President talked about the drought in northern Kenya, and he said he's going to, the government will distribute relief food. Madam Speaker, I think the President did not give this matter the seriousness it needed. In northern Kenya, already animals are dying, people are dying. We don't want only relief food. What we need in northern Kenya is, the 3.5 million Kenyans, what they need is some other interventions. An example, the dying animals need feed. The government should distribute also animal feeds. The government also should do water tracking. We need so many other things, so as to protect the livelihood of these people. Madam Speaker, also the President, while speaking on the universal health care, said that he will restructure NHIF. I think NHIF has been over-restructured. Every other time, I have been employee of NHIF for 10 years. It has been over-restructured. It doesn't need to be structured again. I think as it is now, it can handle the issues of UHC. Also, Madam Speaker, there's also a problem of insecurity in northern Kenya. Whenever there's a drought, there's always clashes on pastures, always clash on pasture. So the government also should address this particular time when there's a drought in this northern Kenya. The government also should address the issue of security in this area. Madam Speaker, I wish to thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you. A member has donated more time for the next members. I hope everyone can do that. It's now the time for MP from Mbeere North.
Madam Speaker, thank you for this opportunity to address the House for the first time. I tried to be member from Mbeere North, but failed in 2013 and 2017. So for me, this is a dream come true. And it's for this I'm grateful to and humbled by the trust the people of Mbeere North have bestowed upon me. I take to serve both those who voted for me and those who did not vote for me. Madam Speaker, I'm arrived to the functions of the House, namely to represent the electorate, to legislate, and to oversight the executive. I am happy that in the inaugural address to this House by the President was emphatic that he expects registration and oversight from the House. Madam Speaker, to achieve the purpose of the House and in order to serve the aspiration of the country, I will urge that we work and look at the bills, motions, proposals that come before us for considerations and approval. I say so because there is no Kenya Kwanza country and an Ansmio country. And any bad laws from the House or no laws come out of this House, the effect thereof will be felt in equal measures by the entire country. Madam Speaker, For His Excellency the President to succeed in his vision for this country, we will need to make robust and enabling laws and also ensure the implementation by all. I will therefore urge, Madam Speaker, to ensure that the drafters in the House are efficient, to ensure speedy drafting of the bills. I would also propose the drafters to be around to invite sectoral experts in order to enrich and ensure quality bills. Madam Speaker, as a House, we need to vacate from criminalization of administrative functions and processes. I say so because in the recent past, public officers have become overly ineffective as a result of criminalization of every process in their professional functions. As a result, DCI, EACC, KERA, among other, now preoccupy themselves with hiring to court public officers for the minor administrative missteps. And that's why, Madam Speaker, I will be proposing an amendment on the Public Procurement Act of 2015. Madam Speaker, this House needs to give impetus to technology, innovation, and sustainability. It is in the approach of the registration and solutions to the challenge in the society, I will urge that the House will prioritize making laws that anchor technology as a solution to the challenges that we face as a country. The issue of climate change is a reality, Madam Speaker, and I will also urge this House to consider climate financing to be well framework which climate financing can enable especially the marginalized communities in this country. I look forward to serving the country in my new capacity, and I thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
You member from Beren North, you are also quite brief. It means many of our colleagues will have an opportunity to speak. I now call the nominated member, Honorable John Badi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, let me start by congratulating you for being elected as Deputy Speaker of this House. Last time I made my contribution, I congratulated the Speaker, but I had not congratulated you. I have no doubt in my mind that you lead this House and conduct the affairs of this House diligently and objectively. And I hope that the 4 members who are also going to constitute the chairman's panel will get members with experience and ability to help you run the House. Having said that, Madam Speaker, allow me to make my contributions to the speech of the President. First, I want to state that this House has a collective responsibility to oversight and hold the executive to account as a unit. But I'm also alive to the fact that this side of the House, the minority side, or the opposition as it used to be called, has an extra responsibility to even hold the executive to account much more. I am sure that we are not going to provide parochial opposition. We are going to provide an objective opposition. We will support government policies that are geared towards helping better the lives of Kenyans, and only oppose those policies which would make us roll back on the gains that this country has made so far. So you expect a robust opposition from us, an opposition that is informed with objectivity and helping the country to move forward. Madam Speaker, President Ruto is taking over a country that is so divided, a country that is divided right down in the middle, a country where 50% or near 50% voted for him, and another 50% or near 50% did not vote for him. This is a country that requires real symbol of national unity. I am happy that the President did indicate in his speech that he's going to run a united country, that service delivery is going to be given to all Kenyans in equal measure, regardless of where you voted, because we are all taxpayers. And that is something that needs to be lauded. And so now what we are waiting for is action. Madam Speaker, the only thing that I would have requested or asked is of the Deputy President to also follow what the President has said. I was a bit disturbed when the news came out that the Deputy President said something to the effect that it is their turn to eat. I hope he was misquoted. Madam Speaker, public appointments belong to Kenyans. Public appointments, whether position of permanent or principal secretaries, those positions are positions in the public and civil service and are not supposed to be used as a reward for political support. Those positions belong to all of us, whether you voted Azimio or you voted Kenya Kwanza. And how I wish that the Deputy President understood that. So, Madam Speaker, we expect the Public Service Commission to be impartial and not to be a subject or a victim of state capture. Having said that, Madam Speaker, something that worries me a lot is that however short or brief the speech of the President was, but I expected at least a line on devolution. If the President could remember National Government Constituency Development Fund, which I support as a very progressive fund, then I wonder how he could forget to mention something on devolution. He even spoke about the Senate Oversight Fund, but did not say a thing on devolution. If there is one thing that has changed the architecture of governance in this country, it is devolution. From 2013, and this is something that should always find a space in the speech of a President of the Republic of Kenya. So I hope, because he was summarizing his speech, probably it was left among the very many volumes that I saw he did not read. I could see that the President read a portion of his speech and decided to leave others. And being an intelligent man, he must have summarized it in a way that we couldn't even notice that he left out some. I just want to assume that devolution was part of the rest of his speech. Because if it is not, then it would worry me. The President talked a lot about economy in his short speech, and even proposed that he would start by cutting our budget by about 300 billion shillings. I thought that was a bit ambitious, but I'm waiting to see through the supplementary budget what the Treasury has for us to actualize the pronouncements by the President. However, I don't think the solution is on the quantum of the budget as such, or the cutting down of the budget as such. To me, I think we should focus as a country on misuse of resources, on governance issues, and look at the fiscal discipline in this country, what you can call corruption. And Madam Speaker, I don't understand why the President is finding it so hard to call corruption corruption. I rarely hear my President talks about corruption. He will always cut corners and use
language that is close to corruption, but he will not call it corruption. I would want President William Ruto to call corruption, corruption. If there is one thing that he should disobey his policy of bottom up, it is on corruption. This one must be top down. This must be fought top down. You can't fight it bottom up. This one you must fight top down. The president, who is the head of this country, must come out forthrightly, forcefully, and call corruption, corruption, and make life unbearable for those who are corrupt. These are the people who are making our budget be inflated. These are the same people who are making this country lack resources to be able to implement the projects that we should implement. And Madam Speaker, I want to just advise the executive, if they can take my advice, the time is running out. Honeymoon is over. Today it is exactly 30 days since they were sworn in office. And the deputy president is still talking over here. He doesn't believe. If you don't believe and Kenyans are expecting services, what do you want us to do? Please believe and start delivering services. We want the cost of living to come down, the price of fuel to come down, and don't now talk about Ukraine war. During campaigns you said Ukraine war has nothing to do with this. Now we are joining you in cheering that Ukraine is very far from Kenya. We want the price of fuel, petroleum products to come down. The price of unga must come down to 80 shillings as we were promised. There is no more time to move around. My president, now you have already sold yourself as a Kenyan leader internationally. We now want you here, back home, and sit, and very soon we are going to give you your cabinet. Once you have that cabinet, please perform. Kenyans don't want any more wastage of time because the economy is down. That is a fact, we all agree, but we will support you to make sure that this economy is resuscitated only with good policies. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And now I call the ranking member for Garissa constituency.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I will not take a lot of time in contributing to the speech of my president. And I've done it 3 times. I contributed to the main speech of President Kibaki, President Uhuru Kenyatta, and now to the only president and a friend of mine, President William Ruto. And the Speaker, for the first time, his speech was, I think, 1 hour. Members who were here last time, you remember President Uhuru former president left his speech halfway and even threw it here. I think he left it at the Speaker's place. For those who write speech, you don't allow the president to repeat. So President Ruto did not repeat what he said at his inauguration. He didn't repeat what he said at the UN General Assembly. He didn't repeat what he said yesterday. He will say what is there today. And I think his key areas to pick was to make sure that the Big Four agenda in the plan are implemented. Universal health care for every Kenyan. Housing, and all these housing, affordable, cheap housing, every Kenyan to live in a decent house, turn the payment of rent into ownership of houses. Thirdly, to make sure Kenya is food secure. And even before his cabinet sits, he reduced, first promises, the prices of fertilizer. He's dealing with the drought as we speak today. He appointed the 6 judges who the Constitution allowed, but because of impunity, the former president refused. He called Safaricom and told them, we know the owners of Fuliza. reduced Fuliza by 80%. In 30 days, Honorable Bandia, ranking member, what President William Ruto has done, other presidents have all done in 2 years. And for corruption, watch his space. If you were involved in KEMSA, if you have a file, whether you belong to Kenya Kwanza, whether you belong to the opposition, he categorically said he will empower and support financially the oversight independent institutions which for 5 years were captured by the state mandarins. The office of the DPP, EACC, Auditor General, Honorable Wandai said, I served as a member of the Public Accounts Committee. The controller of budget was harassed by the Minister for Finance. The Inspector General of Police, today, if there is an incident in any constituency, he has the capacity and the financial muscle to do his operational without any hindrance. All these were done within 30 days. If William Ruto will either be, President William Ruto will be either like President Kibaki, who left us with a debt of 1.8 trillion, or he will be better. And I am one person who believes if Kenya will not change under the leadership of the chief hustler, it will never change. There is optimism. There is a lot of excitement in the region and in Africa. Never have you seen 21 presidents coming for an inauguration. There used to be a handful of 10, 15. Kenya is a hub, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have a young, energetic, sober president. A president who only takes tea, like me. He only takes tea. A good listener. A president who believes in the unity of people. Check, since he was in ODM, URP, Jubilee, and UDA, he has never appointed any of his relatives to this house. Compare, he appointed, his party has been appointing the marginalized, women, person who listens to women. Let us judge William Ruto in a very fair way, even if you're in the opposition. And today I'm very happy. My colleague, the ranking member, has really confirmed to all and sundry that he has taken his place in the minority and in the opposition. This country needs an effective and robust opposition. It was not there last time. Last time we do know who was government. The opposition, you know, that handshake killed this country. It gave us extra 7 trillion. 7 trillion. And that is why we need to reconfigure the budget. And even this house, the budget of the Parliament Service Commission must be ready to be slashed. And we must not rush to the Chinese loans anymore. We must borrow. If we have to borrow, we must borrow from the multilaterals that will give us cheaper rates at 3%, longer period. We don't want these Chinese who come and they come with their companies, Kenyans lose, they offload their population. Imagine a Chinese truck driver in a construction site. This house must rise to the occasion. And those of us who will, if the house approves me, we will not allow Kenya's place to be occupied by foreigners. Dear colleagues, and because majority are new, I really want to ask you, please make laws that will help our country. Even when government bring laws, scrutinize them. You know, the last 4 years, and I think now everybody knows the deep state and the what were they called, the system. Those are fallacy. Even I'm sure if the chief is no longer a deep state. The county commissioner has realized he is not a deep state. The DPP could not work. He was told, choose which file to take to court. The EACC, there was gun on the head. Look for the file of Eden Duale and don't take this one. The judiciary was marshaled. The controller of budget could not say that counties has overshoot their recurrent expenditure. Our counties are employing 50-60% outside the PFM requirement of 35. Honorable Bandi and team, you will watch from TV the way this country will change. I have no doubt. I have no doubt. You know, Honorable Kiraitu Murungi in 2002 said, President Moi, go home and buy a TV. I am telling you, buy a TV. May God give you more years to live, and watch how William Samoei Arap Ruto will transform this country. Please, buy a TV. Debt level will come down. In 30 days, Honorable Mbandi and the rest, in 30 days, we have stopped subsidy of petroleum products. No, I am not a minister. I am a member for Garissa Township. Madam Speaker, you need to protect me. I am the member, and I want to thank the people of Garissa Township. They elected me 4 times in 4 different political parties. ODM, URP, Jubilee, and now in UDA. That tells you they have the confidence in the leadership, and all that I moved with William Ruto. They were telling me, go with William Ruto. He took me to ODM. He took me to URP. He took me, but I didn't mind because I was a pastoralist. Madam Speaker, I am so happy that what I said many years ago, that I will retire from politics when William Ruto in the State House. That dream has been achieved, and God bless Kenya. God bless the government of William Ruto, and I hope this House will provide the leadership. I know we have a very vibrant opposition. We have got very good leaders on the other side. Let us all work together to protect the interest of our people. And thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We'll now have member for Konoin, will be followed by member for Nandi County, and then member for Matungu, so that you can be ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First of all, I would like to thank the people of Konoin for giving me a second chance and voting me for the second time to be in this House and to represent their interest. I would also like to appreciate the people of Kenya for voting in President William Samoei Ruto and his deputy, Rigathi Gachagua, and also congratulate you and our Speaker for being elected in the House to serve in this Parliament. Madam Speaker, in the President's speech, he captured a number of fundamental issues that are in the plan or the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto. One of it is food, nutrition, and security. The mission to scale production in agriculture while creating jobs is one of the fundamental issues that was mentioned, and Konoin constituency being one of the constituencies that depend on tea. Actually, 80% of our of farming activities in Konoin constituency is revolving around tea. And Madam Speaker, the fertilizer subsidy to lower cost of production is welcomed, and it will serve our people and improve in regards to production of tea. Madam Speaker, in my constituency, we also have multinational companies. that are covering almost 1/3 of the constituency. That is the Unilever Tea, James Finlay, and Williamson Tea. In the spirit of employment that is born through agricultural production, these multinationals have exhibited some misbehavior and bad manners, and they've actually sent home more than 15,000 employees through forced voluntary early retirement, through redundancy, through disciplinary dismissal, and this has actually rendered very many of my constituents jobless due to the proliferation of machines that have been introduced. And this has done more harm than good. Madam Speaker, we need to call upon these multinational companies to be able to exercise and balance between mechanization, profit, and employment, so that our people, as much as we appreciate mechanization, the multinational must also appreciate that the only benefit that we get from them is actually employment. And when they are no longer employing our people, then they will have outlived their usefulness. Madam Speaker, I'm calling upon this multinational to rethink in the lines of balancing between mechanization, profit, and employment, so that we can get as many people as possible employed in the multinational companies. Madam Speaker, President emphasized on the ASLA fund, and this is actually to support small and medium enterprises through affordable credit, and also small and medium enterprises can expand their businesses, so that the Mamamboga, the Kinyozi, the boda industry can actually thrive and expand in regards to the bottom-up model. Madam Speaker, the President also talked about matters water, and he talked about raising target of access to water from the current 60% to 80%. In my constituency, there was a water project called Boster Water Project. And this water project was to serve 5 constituencies, 4 constituencies in Bomet and 1 constituency in Kericho County. So far, the project has been funded by Chinese Exim Bank. But the previous regime sabotaged this project for political reason. In the spirit of raising the target of water from 60 to 80%, we hope and we pray and we beseech this government to actually jumpstart this particular project, because the money is still lying in the treasury, so that this project, Boster Water Project, can start as quick as possible, so that we can get access to clean running tap water. Madam Speaker, there is the NHIF, which the President spoke about, and this actually NHIF should be restructured to enable it become fit for the purpose of social insurance scheme that caters for all, including the chronic illnesses. Madam Speaker, this NHIF should cater for terminal diseases like cancer, as this disease has actually drained many families from the resources. Many families have sold their land and property to pay for hospital bills, And since this government of Kenya Kwanza has promised to align and restructure the NHIF, we are really appreciating it, and we say that is a plausible initiative. Madam Speaker, the President also talked about the NGCDF, and he said NGCDF should be aligned to the Constitution, and because it has impacted a lot in our societies. The bursaries that we give to the orphans, the vulnerable in the society, has actually helped them to achieve their goals. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. God bless Kenya.
Thank you. Member for Nandi County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand today privileged to be part of the 13th Parliament. Honorable Speaker, this privilege and honor has been bestowed upon me by the great people of Nandi, and I want to pass my sincere gratitude to them for having seen value in me, for having voted for me overwhelmingly on 9th of August to come to this House. Honorable Speaker, I want to say to the people of Nandi that I'm indebted to them, and I will ensure that I serve them selflessly, and I will ensure that I pay back whatever they did on 9th of August by ensuring that I give responsive and responsible leadership. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that my voice is their voice in this House. I shall speak for every child in Nandi County. I shall speak for every girl who needs encouragement. I'll speak for every woman who needs a shoulder to lean on. And I'll speak for every group that is special, and every boy and man who is trying to find a footing in their life, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, that said, I want to say that, of course, I'm a new honorable member in this House, and I want to say that my name is Cynthia Muge. I was born and bred in Nandi, probably for Nandi and this country at large. Honorable Speaker, I am a daughter, I am a wife, and I am a mother, and that all in one complete package, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, by training, I'm a physical planner, trained and educated in the University of Nairobi, with a bachelor's and with a master's degree also, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, every person would be wondering that how did this person end up in this House? Honorable Speaker, my political journey started 5 years ago in 2017 when I was a young, small girl, a tiny girl who would pass for a uniformed Form 2 girl. Honorable Speaker, I went into the murky waters of politics and actually ran for the position of Member of County Assembly. I ran, and I thank God I was given the opportunity to serve the people of Kilibwani, and I want to say thank you to those the great people of Kilibwani. It is the star and the seed that they planted in 2017, Honorable Speaker, that has eventually grown leaves, very broad leaves, Honorable Speaker, that today cover the whole county. I want to say thank you to those great people, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, the easiest part is done. The easiest part was to be elected. And now the hardest part begins, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say this, the responsibility that has been given to me and before me is no joke, Honorable Speaker. It is enormous. But I want to say that in my village, I come from the same village, Honorable Speaker, where Chelagad Mutai, who was elected to this august House at 24 years of age. Chelagad Mutai, Honorable Speaker, did a great job in this House. She is the person who stood for the people and fought for the land rights of the people. And the people of Wasingishu then were able to get lands, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say that the shoe that Chelagad Mutai, I cannot fit in it, Honorable Speaker, so to speak, because it was actually shoed at a different point in life, in a different era, where things were done differently. But Honorable Speaker, I want to say I will take her lessons seriously so that I can be able to shoe my shoe size going forward, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that in this House, I hope to be able to speak up. In this House, Honorable Speaker, I hope to be able to play my constitutional role. In this House, Honorable Speaker, I hope
to be the representative of the people, so that the people that are represent and the Kenyans at large, Honorable Speaker, are able to see value for their money and every coin that they have in this government. Of course, Honorable Speaker, with the assurance of the President that his administration will be able to rely on the oversight of this Assembly, I want to say that I shall play that role without demonization of checks and balances. Honorable Speaker, I hope that through me and through this House, Kenya Kwanza is able to implement the plan, and the people of Kenya are able to get the promises that were made to Kenya, to the country at large, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, just to say a few words about the President's speech that he made last week, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that for the first time, we have a president who is careful and detailed. He is a president who remembered to count the number of women who were elected to this House. He is a president who remembered the number of members that came back to this House, Honorable Speaker. And that tells you a lot about him, Honorable Speaker. He is a president whom during his campaign trail, he has spoken about economy. He is keen on ensuring that the economy of this country is back to where it was and where it was left by Kibaki, and even better. Honorable Speaker, I remember that he spoke about healthcare. Honorable Speaker, it should be noted that any person who speaks about savings is a futuristic person, is a person who looks into the future and actually wants to ensure that that future comes and it will be enjoyed by everyone. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to say that the President also, of course, spoke to the Hustler Fund, spoke to taxation issues, and was able to speak to the housing issues which are affecting the people of Kenya. I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that that particular speech, as much as many honorable members have said that it was short, I want to say that every person who has the story header has the story in full. So I want everyone to know that the President, of course, he was trying to be brief and not to be boring, but he has the content and the detailed and the plan and the roadmap to ensuring that this happens, Honorable Speaker, in this country. And I hope all the honorable members in this House will be instrumental during their representation role, their oversight role, and their legislation role to ensure that the President delivers. So, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you and thank the honorable members of this House and the great people of Nandi for according me this golden opportunity to speak in this House as a representative. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Member for Nandi, for keeping time. I think now we call the honorable member for Matungu. Thereafter, we'll have the nominated member, Catherine Omayo, after.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this chance to address the 13th Parliament and to talk to the people of Matungu. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity first to congratulate you for having been elected the Deputy Speaker of the 13th Parliament. And I also take this opportunity to congratulate my mentor and my friend, the Speaker, Moses Wetangula, for having been elected the Speaker of this House. Madam Speaker, I have a history with the Speaker, Wetangula, because he is my mentor politically. When I left my employment in Parliament, he is the first one who impressed me politically, campaigned for me, gave me a ticket in his party, and actually has mentored me up to this point in time. Madam Speaker, second, I want to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the people of Matungu for overwhelmingly voting for me 2 times strongly in 2 years. First in 2021 and second in 2022. That is a vote of confidence by the people of Matungu with me, and I embrace it, and I promise that I will work for the people of Matungu to make sure that I achieve what I promised them during the campaigns. Madam Speaker, let me take this opportunity to say a few words about what the President said in this House, the 13th Parliament. the president first, I allow the president for acknowledging the fact that CDF is an important fund in the constituency's development. And he encouraged us and he told us that we can work out something to align that fund to the constitution so that it works for the member of parliament and it works for the constituents that actually are the direct beneficiaries of that fund. And by any means and by all means, everybody understands that CDF is an important fund to the development of the constituency. Millions and millions of children have been educated through CDF, and a lot has been achieved through CDF. Unfortunately, it's only the judiciary that doesn't understand the importance of that fund. But that's a matter for another day. Madam Speaker, other than that, I want to register my disappointment because the president did not give any commitment about the revival of the sugar industry in the western region, and more so the revival of Mumias Sugar Company. I am a representative of the people of Matungu, and the people of Matungu are 100%. During those days, the people of Matungu 100% depended on Mumias Sugar Company. With the collapse of Mumias Sugar Company collapsed with the dreams and aspirations of the people of Matungu and Mumias at large. And it is very imperative that the government of the day has to give some importance to the revival of the sugar industry. It gives us sleepless nights. It actually saddens us when the government of the day decides to ignore the issue of Mumias Sugar Company. The issue of Mumias Sugar Company is a very thorny issue to us. The residents of Matungu are desperate. Mumias Sugar Company was only their livelihood. We depended on Mumias Sugar Company 100% to achieve all our dreams. But unfortunately, it collapsed. All efforts to revive Mumias Sugar Company over the years have failed. For whatever reason, everything that has been tried about Mumias Sugar Company has failed. Right now, we have a businessman who is trying to revive the Mumias Sugar Company, but we have numerous court cases going on to stop the revival of Mumias Sugar Company. It is time that the government has to intervene and make sure that Mumias Sugar Company actually stands on its feet for the benefit of the people of that region. Madam Speaker, the people of that region and the people of Matungu are tired of being told to move on from the sugarcane farming. We are not going to move on because sugarcane farming is the only business we know. We have tried everything else, it has failed. We have tried maize, we have tried sorghum, we have tried cassavas, we have tried even avocados, but nothing is working for us. So we want our sugarcane back. And it's only the government that can help us. And so if the government can't help us, then we shall remain hopeless because we are not going to move on. We are not going to do the other things. So people should stop telling us to move on because we are not going to move on. We are going to farm sugarcane and we want it to be revived. Madam Speaker, the issue of youth employment did not come out strongly in the president's speech. This country, 75% of the population of this country is youth. But where do we take them? There is no elaborate plan for youth employment in this country. There is no elaborate plan for people to rise up from the poverty. We hear of the Hustler Fund. If actually they are serious with the Hustler Fund, the government, then they should give a good percentage of that fund to the farmers of Matungu and Mumias at large, so that they can replant the cane, so that they can supply that cane to Mumias Sugar Company and other companies, so that they can revive the sugarcane farming industry. Madam Speaker, this country, the economy, everybody agrees that the economy is in shambles. And instead of the government also joining the Wananchi in crying about the bad economy, it should give us an elaborate plan about what they are going to do to revive the economy in the shortest time possible. Madam Speaker, there is a plan that was elaborated by the President that we should cut down costs. Instead of cutting down costs, the government should come up with a wealth creation method. We are not in the mood of cutting costs, we are in the mood of creating wealth. So the government should create wealth instead of cutting costs. Nobody is ready to surrender their allowances or whatever they have targeted, just because.
Beside requiring the President to address the opening of every new parliament, it mandated the President to address Parliament at least once annually to brief Parliament of the measures taken in realization of national values and principles. Mr. Speaker, my comment on the President's speech will be on the policy aspects, what he said, and what we think he ought to have said. In the circumstances that many Kenyans find themselves in, the cost of living has skyrocketed. Mr. Speaker, this last election was an election about the cost of living amongst many other factors. Promises were made to Kenyans that the price of basic commodities would stabilize. Assurances were made to Kenyans that the war in Ukraine and Russia had no role to play in the inflation that had visited the country. Mr. Speaker, from August to date, the price of basic commodities has skyrocketed. The price of maize flour, or what we call unga, has gone up by 8.4%. And these are statistics from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. The cost of electricity has gone up by 20.9% from August to date. The price of petrol has gone up by 17.7%. The cost of transport, Mr. Speaker, has gone up by 25%. The price of sugar has gone up by 19%. Inflation is at 9.2%. Very dangerously close to the 10%. And Mr. Speaker, this is the highest rate of inflation in the last 5 years. If the President's speech was supposed to be exposition of public policy, we would have expected that he would have given us a cogent plan to arrest the skyrocketing prices of basic goods, that he will have given us a formula to ensure that that is tamed. He didn't do that. Mr. Speaker, the elections were called with 7 million people having voted for the current government and 6.9 million people having voted for the opposing team. Kenya is divided right in the middle. The reason why the President is described as a symbol of national unity is that in our democratic process and experiment, there will be many people contesting for the same seat. At the end of the day, the person who's declared the victor occupies State House and assumes the role of symbol of national unity as well as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. Mr. Speaker, we did not hear much about the President's plan for unifying the nation and for ensuring that national values and principles that are laid out in the Constitution are observed. I do hope that when the President comes for his first formal address to Parliament, he will be true to his calling as a symbol of national unity. He will refrain from throwing barbs at his opponents and will see himself as a father of all the 50 million Kenyans. Nobody in this country should be punished for the political choices they have made. Mr. Speaker, I am proudly on the minority side, and I am proudly going to play my role as an opposition senator. But the people of Homa Bay should never be in opposition. It is the elected leadership of Homa Bay that should be in opposition, not the people of Homa Bay. And Mr. Speaker, I do hope that this kind of thinking will permeate not just the House but the presidency, to remember that the political choices that the people of Homa Bay made should not be criminalized.
Mr. Speaker, if my good friend Senator Kajwang read the speech or listened to the speech of the President, he was very clear. In paragraph 14, he said, I promise to lead an administration dedicated to just and fair government to all Kenyans in order to deliver a Kenya for everyone. I commit to be loyal, hardworking, devoted president to every Kenyan, and my administration will serve all without regard to any distinction, real or imagined. Mr. Speaker, I think now Kajwang is trying to imagine things. The point of order is that Kajwang is misleading people by saying that the president is Senator Kajwang. Senator Kajwang is misleading people by saying that the president was not committed to every Kenyan. He was.
Mr. Speaker, in this House, the proverb of dry bones and old women has been said before. I don't want to use it, but they become jittery when old bones are mentioned in a proverb. I was encouraging the House and I was encouraging the nation that we must have a proper plan for national unity. And it is not just in the proclamations that the President makes, it must also be reflected in the proclamations that are made by his deputy and his troops, those who form part of his administration. Mr. Speaker, in exposition of public policy, I said the greatest threat to most Kenyans right now is the high cost of living, the sense of marginalization, but also corruption. This is an administration that has assumed that corruption ended simply because they were elected into office. This is an administration that does not want to talk about corruption because, as I said, that there are those who feel uncomfortable when old bones are mentioned in a proverb. The Corruption Perception Index, published by Transparency International, has placed Kenya in position 128 out of 180 countries, which means, by that definition, Kenya is still an extremely corrupt country. We would have expected the President coming before Parliament in realization of the national values and principles to make a comment on that. He still has an opportunity to do that when he comes for his annual address. Mr. Speaker, allow me to briefly touch on some of the things that the President said. In paragraph 47, he has talked about the issue of savings and the savings culture. It is true that Kenyans save about 10 to 12% of GDP, which is below the average in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly in East Africa, but also very low for a low middle income economy. But Mr. Speaker, we asked ourselves whether in our assessment of savings, we are only focusing on the formal and forgetting about the informal. Where I come from, our people save in the form of livestock. I went to school from the proceeds of livestock. My father, whatever little he built, rental houses or a commercial property somewhere, was because he kept cattle. And at maturity, he would send us to the market to liquidate that cattle and convert it to cash. There are those of us from northern Kenya who owns herds of camels. And Mr. Speaker, they might be wealthier than many of us who keep our money in commercial banks and in fixed deposits. Because if you look at one camel, it's probably 150,000. And when you see those people walk around with the camels, you might look down upon them, but perhaps they've got more wealth than we do. Savings is not just about what is in the bank. And I'd like the President, because he brought this conversation about the informal economy and the hustlers, that we must look beyond what is sitting with custodians, what is sitting with pension funds, and what is sitting with the NSSF. Mr. Speaker, the 6,000 shillings matched with 2,000 shillings at the end of the year sounds very sexy. But if you break it down, Mr. Speaker, that's 8,000 shillings in a year. 8,000 in 20 years. That will be 160,000 shillings as a pension benefit to that individual. What can that do? We know when we go to our constituencies, 160,000 is something you'll spend in 2 churches. It sounds very nice that the president and the nation is going to contribute to match 2,000 for every 6,000 paid at the end of the year. But that is not enough, Mr. Speaker. I want the president to look at the regulatory framework that governs the financial services sector and particularly the pension sector. Mr. Speaker, I spent a few years in that sector, and I do recall there's a time the industry came up with a product called the Mbao Pension Plan. The Mbao Pension Plan was an idea to bring the Juakali sector into the formal pensions sector. And so the Juakali people would contribute 20 shillings on a daily basis using a mobile innovation, using an app. Mr. Speaker, since 2018, the success of this Mbao pension plan has been affected by a number of issues. First of all, if we are going to allow our young people in the gig economy to come up with innovations similar to the innovations they've come up with in the banking sector and in the mainstream loans, the mobile lending sector, we must look at the various bodies that have been set up to regulate the pensions and savings sector. Insurance companies provide pensions products. They are regulated by the Insurance Regulatory Authority. Then you've got the Retirement Benefits Authority. Then you have got the securities, is it called NSE? Nairobi Securities Exchange, which has got its own regulator. Then you've got another regulator, a 4th regulator, which regulates SACCOs, which is another avenue of savings, SASRA. There are about 5, if not 6 regulators in that space. Why can't we streamline the roles of these regulators so that you can provide one combined product that will then capture pensions, will capture SACCOs, will capture a life insurance product, and then we can allow our innovators to come up with quick products rather than this matching of 2,000 to 6,000. I agree with the President that this is urgent and this is important, but I want to encourage him and his policymakers to think broadly. How do we bring into the formal economy the owners of camels and the owners of cows and the owners of goats? How do we bring into the formal economy the farmer in Kitale who has harvested several bags of maize? We came up with a warehouse receipt system bill in this House, Mr. Speaker. It has not been implemented because the grain in a farmer's warehouse in Kitale can also be looked at as savings. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, on paragraph 51, the President talks of the Senate Fund. I was a bit disappointed today to encounter the committees in the order paper. I wish one of the things that we would have prioritized was a monitoring and evaluation select committee. Mr. Speaker, I've been in this House and I've been part of these conversations. We came up with regulations. We proposed that we get a 1 billion shilling fund. We came up with purposes of the fund, administration of the fund, structures, and even proposed that we have a monitoring and evaluation committee of the House. I want to encourage the House leadership at SPC. The President has shown goodwill. The only reason why we didn't get this money previously was that the President then did not have a lot of time for the Senate. Let's take advantage of that goodwill and ensure that that fund is in place. Mr. Speaker, on budget cuts of 300 billion, I will support it as long as it does not touch devolved governments. We have allocated 370 billion to counties, plus conditional grants. This House, we must agree to stand together that in the next allocation, counties must get more than 370 billion, because that is the reason for our existence. When you go back to your county, you'll be asked what you've done over the last 5 years. You've not been building classrooms, you've not been building police stations, but you can proudly say that the allocation for my county has moved from 8 billion to 9 billion during my time in the Senate. Let the cuts look at other things that are discretionary, but not the allocation to county governments. But then we have a challenge, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of bad manners in county governments. It is time we made sure that our committees, not just park and pick, each committee of this House has got an oversight role. If you become lucky to lead a committee, if you become lucky to be a member of a committee, please let's make sure that if we increase our allocations to counties, those allocations will go towards development rather than towards fattening the accounts of those who are there. We must also, as a House, take a common stand to threats to devolution. We have heard the president talk about housing. The national government's job is only housing policy. Provision of social housing is a function of county governments. We've heard the president talk about water and PPPs. The national government's role is just policy. The issue of provision of water is a function of county governments. And we must unbundle all these water services boards and make sure that counties have got direct access to those resources. We've heard the president talk about fertilizer. The role of the national government is policy. Execution is a role of county governments. Let us have a bipartisan position, ladies and gentlemen, on these matters. Because if there are affronts to devolution, it does not matter whether the president has got good intentions or not. You cannot, good intentions are not bankable. What is important is fidelity to the Constitution. Housing, water, agriculture, roads, all these are things that the national government continues to pour a lot of funds in, and not to mention health. We had the universal health experiment, which collapsed because there was not sufficient consultation with county governments. Mr. Speaker, the issue of CDF will come to this House. Let no one lie to you that if you gave the National Assembly their CDF, they'll give you your oversight fund. Let nobody lie to you. We have heard that lie over the last 7 years. That you just pass this bill and then the Treasury CS is going to ensure your regulations are passed. I am saying that on the floor of this House, on record and in the Hansard. CDF was relevant when we didn't have county governments. Now that we have county governments, if you want to build things in the village, go run for governor. If you come to this national parliament, represent, oversight, legislate. The only thing we should be willing to discuss is an oversight fund for parliament, not just Senate. An oversight fund for members of the National Assembly and members of the Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, the minute we agree that we grant CDF so that we can get our oversight fund is a day we will be undermining devolution. What is so difficult about providing a conditional grant to county governments to build schools? Mr. Speaker, you find that a school next to the governor's office is dilapidated and the governor can do nothing about it, simply because it does not have access to the relevant funds. Mr. Speaker, let's be united on this matter. The courts ruled that the matter of CDF must come through the Senate. There must be public participation.
Thank you, my good friend.
But the light is still on until it goes off. I mean, it needs to go off.
Okay. Thank you. Senator Newton. Senators, there is a lot of interest in this motion. Because we cannot change the time, the time that every senator should take, unless if senators contributing can be magnanimous enough to to save some few minutes to your colleagues. Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I think I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to take the shortest time possible. Let me take this opportunity also to make a few contributions and observations about this speech that His Excellency the President made on the 29th of September this year. And I think I want to start by lauding him for appreciating Kenyans for electing more women than they had done in the previous election of 2017. I think another thing that I really got impressed about with this speech was his commitment that he is going to work for everyone, all wards, all constituencies, in all counties in the Republic, and that is in numbers or paragraph number 14 and number 15. This, Mr. Speaker, you know that this country has been divided normally maybe down the middle, depending on the results of maybe the elections. When the President committed himself that he was going to serve everybody from every corner of this country. I thought that that was the first step in the building of nationalism and statesmanship. Mr. Speaker, I also want to underline and underscore the President's commitment in paragraph number 16 that he is committed and he is open to, his administration will be open to oversight from this House and the National Assembly. This shows a president and an administration that is sure of itself, an administration that knows that it is going to perform. And that is why he welcomed and actually encouraged the two houses to oversight his government. And this is because, as he said, that everybody should see the public get, to quote him, get value for every cent invested. And I think, Mr. Speaker, listening to the President on paragraph number 16, I was very much okay and assured that our country is now going to witness better days than before. Mr. Speaker, the idea, though it has been fought by naysayers, the idea of encouraging Parliament, that is this and National Assembly, to come up with a mechanism where cabinet secretaries may be coming to the House to answer questions from members relating to things happening in the counties, because we are all here representing counties, is another very welcome move, Mr. Speaker. I know there are those that have said that even without any new mechanism, that cabinet secretaries can still be summoned here. But I think to avoid, many maybe complications and disagreements, I think if we can be able to come up with, the kind of mechanism that the President encouraged and proposed in his speech, I think this would be very good, so that, Mr. Speaker, we can get these answers from the CSs directly, and so that we can bring the issues affecting our people in our different counties. We can be able to raise those issues and we get direct answers from the cabinet secretaries. Mr. Speaker, again, the President's commitment to arrest corruption by empowering the judiciary is something that should not go, uncommented about. That, Mr. Speaker, this country, as those that have stood here before me have said, and as all of us know, is that this country has had very many problems, not because we do not generate sometimes good revenue, but mostly because there is a hemorrhage of public resources through corruption. And Mr. Speaker, hearing the President commit to empowering the judiciary by even allocating more funds so that the judiciary can be able to expand its ability and maybe deal with these cases as and when they come, in order for the judiciary to deliver justice in a timely way, Mr. Speaker, that is a step towards the right direction in even development of this country. Because if we are able to arrest the hemorrhage that has been happening to public resources, Mr. Speaker, this country will be better off and our people will enjoy the services that government can offer in a much bigger way. Mr. Speaker, I also want to talk about paragraph number 21, where the President suggested that his administration will actually scale up production by stopping subsidizing consumption, but in its place subsidize production. because that is what we need, Mr. Speaker. And although those that have spoken before me, some of them would want to have, the cost of living arrested immediately and served maybe as a cup of coffee, instant coffee. But, Mr. Speaker, some things need some time to sort out. We do not want, Mr. Speaker, to have, temporary solutions. If we can get solutions that are lasting, that can be effective in the long term, Mr. Speaker, and that is why subsidizing production is more important than subsidizing consumption, Mr. Speaker. We want permanent solutions. We do not want temporary solutions, Mr. Speaker. And so I want to laud the President for that particular economic step that he made, because we know that for every success, and all the members here will agree with me.
Just a minute, Senator Newton. What is it, Senator Okech? What is out of order?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raise a point of order on misinformation.
Point of order, I'm asking which point of order? Quote the point of order you are referring to. Because we made some housekeeping at some point.
121, where and also in line also with the Article 160 of the Constitution. The Speaker of the floor has just informed us here that
which article of the Constitution?
160, which establishes the independence of the judiciary.
You are quoting the long-standing order. 121 is disorderly conduct.
I'm quoting the Constitution on 120, 160.
You have said standing order 121 in line with the article, which I wanted to get proper. In line with the article. Which is standing order, I'm asking, Senator.
Okay. The Speaker is misinforming us. Senator Newton is misinforming us against the article of the Constitution 160.
116?
160.
Okay, proceed.
Yeah, 160 says that in the exercise of judicial authority, the judiciary, as constituted by the Article 161, shall be subject only to the Constitution and the law, and shall not be subject to the control or direction of any person or any authority. Is it right to form a trend whereby the Senator Newton is talking here that the President has power to actually interfere with that independence of the judiciary?
Senator Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really do not think that I said that the President, I did not impute that the President is interfering in the powers or the independence of the judiciary. If Senator Eddy heard me well, I talked about more allocations to the judiciary, to empower the judiciary more. So it was about the allocation, Mr. Speaker. It was not about, interfering with the powers of the judiciary. It's more allocation, and I think that is what the President talked about.
Senator,
and I think if you go
to so that we can indeed be on the right footing, I want to refer Senator Andy to Article 173, which establishes the Judiciary Fund. Article 173 of the Constitution. Proceed, Senator Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was going to refer to him. I was going to tell him to ask him to go to paragraph 18 and 19 of the President's speech, but thank you, Mr. Speaker, because you have come to my aid. And I think I'm going to proceed. And I was talking about before Senator Eddy rose on a point of order, talking about subsidizing consumption in the place of production. And I think, Mr. Speaker, I had pronounced myself clearly about about that particular point that the President made. And Mr. Speaker, if you allow me, I think the other thing that got me almost excited about the President's speech was paragraphs 25 and 26, Mr. Speaker, where the President talked about empowering hustlers, Mr. Speaker, and particularly this of decriminalizing enterprise, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was elected by the people of Murang'a to be their senator. And it is common knowledge, and everybody who comes to Nairobi knows that most of the hawkers in Nairobi, most of the hawkers in most of these towns around here, Mr. Speaker, come from Murang'a. And Mr. Speaker, when the President talked about decriminalizing enterprise, because we know that hawkers have been facing it very rough, Mr. Speaker, from county askaris everywhere. And these are people who are innocent, people just eking a living out of maybe hawking and those small businesses. Mr. Speaker, I think as a person that is elected by the people of Murang'a, hustlers, people who do their small businesses, hard-working people, if I kept quiet, Mr. Speaker, and stopped or forgot to thank the President for committing that he's going to decriminalize enterprise, Mr. Speaker, I think I would be doing a great disservice to the people of Murang'a that elected me to come to this House. I can see, Mr. Speaker, the senator from Nairobi.
Okay, let us first get from Senator Newt whether he is ready to be informed by the Senator for Nairobi City.
Well, maybe he can inform me, Mr. Speaker, as long as his information will be factual.
Senator Sifuna, yes, proceed.
I just want to inform my colleague that in fact the hustler government that you put in place in Nairobi is, as we speak, evicting those hawkers you're speaking about from the CBD. And I want you to join me, because we all have to fight for those hustlers, to make sure that the county government of Nairobi does not remove those hustlers from the streets.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much.
Senator Newt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm glad that even the Senator of Nairobi, Senator Edwin Sifuna, appreciates the contribution, but that the senator that hawkers make, and for once, Mr. Speaker, I think I want to thank the Senator of Nairobi. Thank you very much for that information, Senator. And we are happy as people from Murang'a and other areas that our people will be allowed to do their businesses without harassment by county askaris, because these are innocent people that eke out a living out of, these small businesses, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, housing is another project that the President talked about in his speech. This housing, Mr. Speaker, and it is going to be in every other county, in major towns, Mr. Speaker. We know, as we stand here, as we sit here, that most of our people live in houses where they do not have access, maybe to toilets and, to clean water and sanitation, Mr. Speaker. The President has committed, as he indicated in his speech on paragraph 29 and 30, that this administration is going to engage in massive infrastructural development of housing where people will be able to get a lot of jobs. Mr. Speaker, masons, electricians, plumbers, people who deal in steel, those who deal in stones, sand, ballast, name it, Mr. Speaker, are going to get jobs. And this will be one way in which we are going to arrest joblessness in this country. And Mr. Speaker, that is something that was very encouraging to hear the President committing to. Mr. Speaker, there are issues of water on paragraph 31, and we know that, Mr. Speaker, most people, and I don't know, Mr. Speaker, whether through you, the Senator of Nairobi, knows of any plans, because, Mr. Speaker, as people from Murang'a, where Nairobi sources its water, from Dakaine Dam. We are saying, and Mr. Speaker, we are going to bring the necessary motions or bills here so that our people in Murang'a do not give Nairobi water for free, where they come and sell it, leaving our people in Murang'a without water, Mr. Speaker. And so, Mr. Speaker, when I heard the President talk about public-private partnership, we as people from Murang'a were very happy about that. In the meantime, we'll be seeking that the county of Nairobi pays some rate to the county government of Murang'a in order for us to be able to build some infrastructure for our people as far as water is concerned. Mr. Speaker, there is that health, and my time is almost up. I can see the warning sign. Mr. Speaker, health. You know, universal health care. Our people, Mr. Speaker, are getting impoverished every time a sickness visits a home. Mr. Speaker, universal health care is going to sort out our people so that our people do not use their much needed savings to meet health challenges, health bills, Mr. Speaker, and that is something that is very encouraging. Mr. Speaker, I'm also very excited about the President committing that the government should not borrow to finance recurrent expenditure, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, only a fool, Mr. Speaker, lives beyond their means. And Mr. Speaker, I think this is very encouraging that going forward, this administration of His Excellency the President William Samoei Ruto is going to encourage savings and is going to discourage borrowing to finance a recurrent expenditure, Mr. Speaker, so that our people can be able to save more and have better services. Mr. Speaker, as I sit down, I want to laud the President for suggesting that we should change Kenya Revenue Authority to be Kenya Revenue Service. Because, Mr. Speaker, many people have closed their businesses. Not because, Mr. Speaker, they do not pay tax.
His
and
time is ending. Senator Newton's time is almost over, but there is another point of information again.
Okay. Governor Senator Mandago.
Mr. Speaker, I just want to inform the Senator from Murang'a that it is an economic and social right according to the Constitution, Article 43 C.D, that the people of Nairobi, who is also among them who lives in Nairobi, they have a right to clean and safe water in adequate quantities, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Newton, you are well informed.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Governor Senator.
Another point of order or information?
Mr. Speaker, I would like my brother to allow me
Take
to
your
make
seat. Resume to your seat, kindly.
to intervene and help him by informing my governor, Honorable Mandago, that even when that right does exist, the truth is that the county governments have not been releasing funds which were meant for compensation to the water and other resources which are given by those counties. So his point is actually correct.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Onyonka. And Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I would have wanted to tell Governor Senator Mandago that we are not suggesting that the people of Nairobi do not have a right to access to water. All we are suggesting is Nairobi Water Company sources water from Murang'a, sells it to the people of Nairobi. So we are saying because they make a revenue out of it, the people of Murang'a should also benefit from this revenue, Mr. Speaker, and that they should pay some rate to Murang'a, Mr. Speaker. My time is up, but I think I would be happy to engage in that debate further because the people of Murang'a cannot give water to Nairobi when they don't have water, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much.
Senator Shakil Abdalla Mohammed. Next.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia hii fursa kuweza kuchangia katika hotuba ya Rais. Kwanza ningependa kuchukua nafasi hii Mheshimiwa kukishukuru chama changu kwa kunipatia hii nafasi ya seneta maalumu na wale ambao wamechaguliwa kutoka kwa chama changu ambao wameiwezesha hii nafasi mimi kuipata. Na vile vile kuwashukuru na kuwapongeza nyote ambao mmechaguliwa katika nyumba hii ya kifahari kutekeleza majukumu yenu. Mheshimiwa Spika, hotuba ya rais kwa maoni yangu haiambatani kamwe na matarajio ya mwananchi. Mheshimiwa Spika, neno hasla ambalo huwa linatumika sana kama maua ya kurembesha ama linatumika kwa ufasaha na utaalamu mwingi haswa na viongozi wa juu, ni neno ambalo kwamba halijaweza kupata maana kikamilifu, kwa sababu na kwa maoni yangu Mheshimiwa, ninaona kama rais hajiamini ama hana uzoefu wa kuelewa kikamilifu miundombinu ya kugeuza uchumi wa nchi na kuinua maisha ya mwananchi mdogo. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna fiche sana ambazo zinabainisha kuwa serikali kuu ina upungufu wa kuelewa ajenda zake na mwelekeo wa nchi na uchumi wake. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna changamoto ambazo sana hivi sasa zinatuambata kama za ufisadi, ajira, gharama za juu za biashara, usalama, barabara, miundo misingi, maji safi, uchafuzi wa mazingira na ukuzaji wa viwanda. Mheshimiwa Spika, nataka nitoe mfano wa mbolea. Hivi sasa Mheshimiwa, mbolea zimewekwa chini kwa shilingi 3,000. Mheshimiwa Spika, Kenya haitaki mbolea za kupewa za marupurupu na nchi za ng'ambo kwa bei rahisi ambazo hatuzielewi. Mheshimiwa Spika, Kenya inahitaji viwanda ambavyo kwamba vitatengeneza mbolea kwa bei nafuu na kukuza mazao yao na kujenga uchumi wa nchi. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo ndio itakuwa njia bora ya kuleta mabadiliko na kuendeleza nchi. Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa njia ya Fuliza, nampongeza rais kuingia Fuliza na Mshwari, lakini tunamwambia afuate mkondo huo, afanye hivyo kwa World Bank na IMF. Hizo ndizo sehemu ambazo zitaleta mabadiliko makubwa ya uchumi wa nchi. Mheshimiwa Spika, bilioni 300 kutolewa. Hivi sasa mawaziri wadogo wako pale si kikatiba. Hiyo ndio mbinu muafaka ya kupunguza gharama za serikali na kuinua uchumi wetu kwa kutoa hizo nafasi za mawaziri wadogo ambazo ziko pale kuzawadia wale wanakampena wao ambao walikuwa wakiwafanyia kazi zao za kisiasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, naongea kwa mfano mambo ya kulipa ushuru. Mwananchi mdogo ndio unaona anakamuliwa sana. Tunataka serikali ilenge na ipeleke macho yake kwa wale samaki wakubwa ambao kwamba wale ndio wanafaa kuleta ushuru na walipe ushuru wa kubadilisha uchumi wa nchi, na ianze na yeye mwenyewe rais. Mheshimiwa Spika, uvuvi. Tunasikitika kwamba uvuvi wa Kenya katika kifungu cha 21 rais ameongea ya kwamba tunafaa kuinua uchumi kwa kupitia uvuvi ikiwa ni mbinu moja. Hivi sasa kitengo cha uvuvi kimewekwa kwenye idara ya blue economy. Na uvuvi wa hapa nchi yetu Kenya ni uvuvi ambao unafanywa na vijahazi na vidimbwi vya maji. Huo ni uvuvi gani ambao utaweza kuinua nchi yetu? Na wale ambao wanafanya uvuvi kwa vijahazi vile vile utakuta wanakatazwa kuvua kwa mikano, ambao kwamba hiyo shida ama hiyo sheria ya mikano inafaa iwekewe zile matrollers, si wale wavuvi wa chini. Lakini utakuta kwamba uvuvi huo ama ile sheria ambayo imewekewa matrollers inaathiri mpaka wale wavuvi wa chini. Hivi sasa wamekatazwa kuvua kwa mikano, ambao kwamba hiyo ilikuwa ni sheria ifikiriwe mvuvi wa chini isimuathiri. Mheshimiwa Spika, uvuvi hivi sasa samaki kuna upungufu nchini. kuna upungufu wa samaki. Kenya inahitaji samaki tani milioni 900, lakini hivi sasa inatoa samaki tani milioni 700. Unakuta rasilimali zetu zinakuja kuchukuliwa na matrollers ambayo yanotoka nje, ambao kwamba hizo matrola ikiwa sisi kama nchi tunaweza kuwa nazo na tutawafundisha wavuvi wetu mbinu mbadala za kwenda kuvua na matrola, tutainua uchumi wetu na tutaweza kubadilisha maisha ya mwananchi ambayo tunamwita hasla. Lakini hivi sasa utakuta rasilimali zetu zinaenda kiholela na watu ambao kwamba si wa Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukame na mafuriko, hayo ni majanga yako kila mwaka. Tunashangaa kuona serikali kila ikifika wakati wa ukame tunafanya firefighting, badala ya kutafuta mbinu ya suluhisho kamili ya kuzuia mambo ya ukame, na pia tutafute suluhisho ya kuchota yale maji ambayo mvua ikija mafuriko, tuyadhibiti yale maji, tufanye ukulima, tulishe mifugo yetu. Wakati wa ukame tuwe tumejipanga kikamilifu, lakini unakuta hakuna hiyo mikakati. Sisi kila mara tunakuwa ni watu wa kupigana wakati wa majanga ya kitukabili, lakini huwa hatujipangi na tukitarajia na kujua kwamba haya majanga yametulenga na yako na sisi kila mwaka. Mheshimiwa Spika, tumeona serikali imeanza kupigana na ufisadi. Kuna watu wameanza kutiwa mbaroni, wamefungiwa, lakini tunataka huu ufisadi ukipiganwa usiwe selective, ufanywe all weather. Si wale wengine wa mrengo ule wao watawachiwa, wa mrengo huu wanafinywa. Kila fisadi popote alipo awe atakabiliwa na apelekwe mahakamani kulingana na hatia zake, lakini sio kwamba ionekane watu fulani ndio wanakabiliwa, watu fulani wanaachiliwa. Kwa hivyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ufisadi ndilo janga ambalo kubwa hivi sasa nchini kwetu Kenya. Hata tukiinua uchumi wetu, ikiwa ufisadi bado unaendelea ambao umekita mizizi katika sekta za serikali, hatutaweza kusonga popote. Mheshimiwa Spika, mbegu za GMO, hizi ni mbegu ambazo kwamba ni kitu hivi sasa. Mbegu zetu za kawaida unaweza kulimia, unaweza kuweka mbegu, ulime, uvune, kisha zile mbegu utumie tena mwakani. Lakini GMO ni kitu unatumia mara moja, mwakani utahitaji tena mbegu zingine. Kwa hivyo hiyo pia ni njia moja ya hasara ya kwamba kila mara ni lazima hizo GMO ziwe zitaletwa, badala ya kwamba zile mbegu ambazo kwamba umepanda, umevuna, utaweza kuzitumia tena na mwakani, lakini tukiletewa mbegu za GMO zitakuwa ni on-off deal. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, kwa hayo machache ninashukuru sana.
Asante. Senator Tabitha Keloche.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to take this opportunity and congratulate His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto and our Deputy President, Honorable Gachagua, on leading a very successful, people-driven and people-oriented campaign. I want to tell him, you not only inspire the ordinary Kenyan to know that their dreams are valid, and therefore in your hands they trusted that their aspirations shall be fulfilled. Congratulations, Your Excellency. Count on my support. I also wish to congratulate you, honorable members, senators, for a great win too. No doubt we all appreciate the enormous responsibilities on our shoulders to carry forth the aspiration of our Kenyan people. I want to thank my people of Nakuru County for giving me the opportunity to serve them as a senator. As I promised them, I will not let them down. With regard to His Excellency, the President's speech on opening of the 13th Parliament, I want to sincerely and deeply thank His Excellency, and I note with gratitude President's acknowledgement of increased number of elected women this term to the Senate and the National Assembly. We feel honored, and I want sincerely to thank the Nakuru people, my Nakuru people of Nakuru County, for setting an outstanding example by achieving the 50-by-50 gender representation in leadership. I'm extremely excited by the President's mission and vision to scale up productivity in agriculture. We shall ensure we have adequate and affordable food and food security, as well as for value addition to support our industrialization. Agriculture has for many years formed the backbone of Kenya's economy. The sector contributes about 30% product GDP and accounts for 80% of national employment, mainly in the rural areas. Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, Nakuru contributes toward the GDP in agriculture, averages 35%. Nakuru is blessed with good climate, good soil, and it can grow everything apart from the sunflower and coconut. We have an industrial park that is coming up, and I believe when it's up and running, we'll be ready to serve. The industries that will be put up in the industrial park with the raw material from our farmers. I want to challenge or to ask the senators in this House to ensure that wherever you are, you ensure you check and see what is grown there and what value addition we can do to the agriculture. I believe His Excellency is not even the way we say that he has hit two birds with one stone. I believe it's like one bird with 4 stones. Because the minute, four birds with one stone. Sorry, excuse. So, meaning, if we work on our agriculture, because if you look at our industries, a lot of the raw materials are imported. We import the raw materials, even the least that we can imagine. So the minute we increase our agriculture, we ensure that our farmers, we add value to their produce, I'm sure we'll put money in their pocket. In our campaign, we went around for ensuring the Kenyans that we ensure that we put money in the pocket. And the first thing that we can do is to ensure that we add value to the agriculture so that we put money in their pocket. We have the best honey here. I know from Kitui, from Baringo, but you see us going to the supermarket and we buy the honey from Australia. If you look at the milk, go to the supermarket. If you look at the value added, what we add value in the milk, the yogurt, 300 grams. Like now when I was coming, I just bought a 300 grams for my lunch, and I think I bought at 180. That's 300 grams. From where I come from, 13 grams of malted barley you use to make a liter of beer, where you sell, the Kenya government gets 142 shillings, and the value added to the farmers and the creation of jobs and all that. So for me, I know all of us, we take the challenge to ensure that whatever we grow in our farms, the sugar canes, the cabbages, whatever we grow, we add value to them. So that we look at what we can add value to them. We advise the county government, the national government. We, as the leaders of this house, I'm sure will ensure that our farmers add value in their pocket. I mean, they have money in their pocket. And to ensure, like now in Naivasha, we have an industry that was closed, which I need to check why it was closed many years back. Is a Pana food where they dry the vegetables and they prolong the lifespan of the vegetables. So I think those are some of the things that we need to do. Then we come to the SMEs, where he said he is also going to ensure that the mama bogas, the boda bodas, and matatu, all that. If you look at the SMEs, the last time I checked, I think they are at 16.5 million. If you look at those businesses which are in the informal sector, if we ensure that we support them, because what they lack, they start their businesses today, and I'm sure you've also seen in your villages, they start their businesses today, maybe forced by circumstances, but they lack the skills of financial, they lack the market, and they lack the information. If we challenge the Ministry for Industrialization and ensure that they give them the information that they require, they create, they build their capacity. They build their capacity to ensure that they have the financial skills, they grow, they ensure that they increase the market for them, and they give them the right information, and the right information reaches using the right channel to reach the information, because they lack the information. And then the foreign ministry also to ensure that it can also ensure that they increase the market in the international market. And then us, as the leaders, we ensure when we go to the supermarket, we buy our products. If you go to America, the President of America will not buy anything that is not produced from his own country. So, if them is them, then who are we? We need to ensure that this country of ours, we change it and ensure that this informal sector, they come to the formal sector by supporting them and giving them the necessary support, so that if they employ one person each, if we are talking of 16.5, we are talking of 33 million people in the now formal sector. If you look currently how many people are employed in the formal and the public, it's not more than 3 million. So we are talking that we can create that 3 million within our 5-year tenure. Even the money we are talking about, the saving, I know Kajwang has left, he seems not to understand about the saving. Even for me, I understood it when we were taken to the Kenya Kwanza induction. Not induction, it was retreat. Was it a retreat or induction? That's the time I understood. I couldn't understand that we are doing so badly that Tanzania, Uganda are better savers than us. We are living beyond our means. The 200 shillings we are collecting, I know it's 200, then the employer adds 200, so it's 400. We use more money to collect that money. So we just need to increase more people, more people to be able to pay the taxes, and it's just to ensure that the informal sector, they come now to the formal, they create employment, and they get into the tax bracket. And then we get this money. So this money, when you keep it in your cows, is just yours. If you keep it to whatever, it's all yours. But when it is that NSSF money put somewhere, it's for your, I mean, you are required to use it after your 30 years in your retirement. That's the money now the government will be borrowing. So we'll save ourselves from borrowing those international funding that we are like slaves. We've been enslaved. So we ensure that now we can have our own money, the government can borrow from us. I don't think we need to go to Harvard Business School to understand that. It is very clear that it is us to save ourselves. The proposal by His Excellency to transform KRA from Kenya Revenue Authority to Kenya Revenue Service is highly welcome. The reforms will ensure customer care and service leadership is enhanced. It will ensure that we build investors' confidence and create friendly businesses environment for both local and international. The need to widen our tax bracket can only be achieved by having friendly method of collecting tax that is free from harassment and necessary use of force. When we talk, when others have spoken, you don't want to repeat a lot, but the other point on how to ensure that the businesses thrive, we create more industries in our country, is to ensure that also the way His Excellency said, that he will ensure that we have affordable credit, and ensuring this blacklisting and the CRBs are well taken care of, or laws are changed to ensure that we don't have many businesses that will go into CRB. Because the minute they go to CRB, is you can't access finance, and the business had employees 2 or 3 or 10, they are going to lose their jobs. So we support His Excellency on that. So mine is to say agriculture, we support His Excellency on that. Nakuru being the biggest contributor, actually about 35%, it means we should even receive more fertilizers. Our people should receive more fertilizers. But the main thing is how do we add value so that we can ensure that we have more products for our businesses to ensure that we don't import a lot of the raw materials. And then we, all of us as Kenyans, support Buy Kenya, Build Kenya to ensure that we can create more employment for our people. I think I don't need to talk much. You, Mr. Speaker, thank you so much, because I don't like repeating. Talking at the last point, it means people have spoken and we've heard. All what we need now, I know it's minority, majority. How do we come together to ensure that our people,
thank you.
Whatever the people wanted, it's not about the division. It's whatever can add value to our people.
Thank
we
you,
all
Senator
work together
Tabitha.
as a team. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Let us now have the minority whip, Senator Fatuma Nduru. And so actually these two gracious ladies are in the leadership of this house. And I did apologize, you couldn't have contributed actually the first day. But it is good you have also been around to see how your members are handling the business of the house. It's good that you have been around for the 3 days. Proceed, Senator Fatuma.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. As you've said, I should have contributed the first day, but sometimes because of the demand, it becomes impossible. But let me contribute actually to the President's address. And I start from actually saying that this is my first time to be in opposition. And sometimes it is very good to be in opposition, because I've been on the other side of the aisle. And you end up defending indefendable. Yeah? But being in opposition is the best thing actually that I'm enjoying this time round to serve in this House. Mr. Speaker, looking at the presidential address, we are being told that Kenya has matured democratically. I doubt that. Because Kenyan politics are based on tribal, clan, ethnicity, money, the rich and the poor. So we are far from being democratic. The only time that I'll say that we are happy and we have matured democratically, Mr. Speaker, is when we don't have contestation. Because over the years, we've had contestation in our elections. We've seen what happened. But I must congratulate Kenyans for having been peaceful this time round when we had election. As the saying goes, minority have their say, and majority have their way. But one day we will realize that the minority will also have their way. Mr. Speaker, from the presidential address, I will look at the issues of the ministers appearing before the House. And some of the people are saying it has been difficult to get the ministers. And I don't want to be the prophet of doom. Whether we have ministers in the House or not, the music will be the same. Because I remember in the last two parliaments, we've had ministers appearing before the committee of the whole. They have never been sitting in the House. But we had even summons to summon ministers who actually defied the summon of the House. And I hope in the process of actually introducing ministers appearing before the Senate to answer questions, we will not be sent cast to come and answer questions on behalf of the ministers. That will be disastrous for this country. Mr. Speaker, the ministers are not members of this House. The only time maybe if they will appear without this mess being here. Yeah? So, we want to see how Kenya Kwanza are going to introduce ministers sitting in this House and answering questions. That is the day we'll have a big challenge in this country. Number two is the issues of Hustler Fund. Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chelagei, what is out of order and Senator Fatuma is doing so well? Go to the dispatch box.
Mr. Speaker, I had to interrupt my leader because and my former member in my jailer committee, but him being a senior lawyer, I expected her to provide proper guidance because we might end up misleading. I raise only look at Article 153 of the Constitution, sub-Article 3. it talks about a cabinet secretary attending a committee of the National Assembly or the Senate when required by the committee and answer any question concerning a matter for which the cabinet secretary is responsible. But the Senator Dulo making assertion that Chief Administrative Secretary will appear before the committees is not good. It's misleading the country, and I hope her being a leader in this house should not be the one misleading. Yet the Constitution is crystal clear under Article 153, Sub-Article 3, on who should appear before any committee, so that we don't get mixed up. The President suggested, and the standing orders will be looked at, but that one does not mean that the Chief Administrative Secretaries or even, and I remember, Mr. Speaker, in the hindsight of institutional memory, we were together with on several occasions where we turned away Chief Administrative Secretaries. I remember you used to serve in national security, and I hope you'll continue serving in it. And you remember we returned the current governor of Narok, Governor Tutu, when he was the Chief Administrative Secretary of Interior. So please, Mr. Speaker, let the leader guide the nation appropriately, not mislead the nation.
Yes, Senator Maruma, what is out of order again?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's not about Senator Fatuma Dulo's contribution, but I'm trying to see how we are doing for time. It's almost 5:15, and there are several people who are supposed to contribute. I'm wondering if we continue with this pace of 15 minutes, I will only get 6 people to contribute, and we'll be having more contributors who want to contribute to the presidential speech. So I want to move that we reduce the time. We might reduce the time. Number 2, maybe you within standing order number 1, Speaker, we can see how, Speaker, we can disallow points of order because they are eating into our time. Yet there are people who have already contributed, and if we continue allowing these points of order, then we might not get time to really contribute. I seek your indulgence, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mwaluma, you know this motion is in progress, almost we are at the tail end, and it is not possible to limit the debate at this point, according to standing order 111. But I've been actually requesting members, at your own discretion, senators, you can save some time for your colleagues, because can do 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So I'm unable to help at this injunction. I know the interest with all the members. I have very long list from both sides, but I'm unable to help at this injunction. Senator Fatuma Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think I'll be very fast and brief in my contribution. I've heard Senator Cherargei about CAS. And actually it's good that he has confirmed we have turned away CAS in our previous meetings. And I've said actually in my statement, there is a possibility of actually sending CAS to this House. And that is what we are going to disallow. So I don't see if there is anything that is out of order. And number 2, when he quotes Article 153, it's very clear that the cabinet ministers are going to appear before the committee of the whole or committee of different departments. That is okay. We have no problem with that. But the only time that we are going to challenge is when we have those ministers to come and sit with us in this House. And that is very clear from my side. The other point I wanted to raise, Senator Cherargei, you are eating into my time, which I think the Speaker needs to protect me. The issues of PPP. Mr. Speaker, as many of my colleagues have said, there was no mention of issues of corruption in the address of the president. What killed this country is corruption. And I know very well, for the last 2 terms I've been in this house, counties have been grappling with the issues of PPP. And a very good example, even national government, the issues of mess. They first started with PPP. And when they realized PPP is not going to work, they dropped it and went to contract, an agreement. PPP, if we are not carefully going to see how we can handle or come up with a proper strategy, that is a source of corruption. And I hope Kenyans are fully aware of what is happening and what will happen to PPP if we don't have proper structures in place. And number 2, counties, they don't even have capacity to run PPP. But unfortunately, most of them, they end up actually starting PPP, along the way they drop. So PPP, if we are not very careful, Kenyans are not going to get value for their money. And also it's a source of corruption. If Kenya Kwanza is ready to deal with corruption, we have no problem with the PPP. And I don't know where they are going to get money to run PPP when they are crying there is no money in the country. Mr. Speaker, the other point I wanted to raise is on a hustler fund. After election, every leader comes on board, they introduce a fund. We have youth fund, which we have seen actually as it has not benefited Kenyan youths. It's actually failing today, if I'm not wrong. Many of our youths are jobless. Many of our youths have dropped out of school. We don't know what youth funds is doing in this country. Number 2, we have seen women fund. Majority of our mothers are hustling in the market, everywhere. Yeah? So when we talk of hustler fund, and it's good to define what hustler is in this country, and I hope it is not rewarding those who have politically supported certain quotas, 80% of this country are hustlers. 80%. We want to see how this hustler fund is going to be introduced, how it's going to help Mama Mboga, Boda Boda, Jua Kali, and everybody else. But the challenge is, where are we going to get these funds from? Are we going to collapse the rest of the funds? Or are we going to create another independent fund? Are Kenyans ready for this hustler fund? Those are the questions we need to ask ourselves. Mr. Speaker, the other issue I wanted to raise is on issues of, Mr. Speaker, the issue of oversight fund and CDF. Oversight fund, CDF. If you see CDF, it's financing security, financing schools, and bursary. The same thing national government is doing. The same thing county government is doing. Is it really helping Kenyans? It's not. Yeah? I come from a county where there is insecurity, people are fighting each other after every 1 week. It doesn't pass. And yet, a member of parliament is given money for insecurity. They end up doing nothing. Yeah? And we are saying CDF is doing a lot of work. Why can't we collapse these projects? Mr. Speaker, I beg you to give me 2 minutes because there was point of orders that actually disrupted my debate. Please, I beg you. There is a very important point I want to drive home, Mr. Speaker. So the issues of CDF, our kids, especially the ones from pastoral areas, the animals are dead, the drought is hitting, kids are not going to school, kids are dying of malnutrition, grown-ups are dying. Surely, what are we doing about them? Yeah? People stood here and talked about drought intervention. What drought intervention? In my county, they were given 600 bags of rice and 360 bags of maize to each sub-county. Surely, that is 1 meal for a day, which is not enough for everybody. As my colleagues have said, and I'll say it here, pastoralist communities are treated in this country as a second-class citizen. Why can't Kenya Kwanza allocate 3.55 billion the way they are allocated to fertilizer to pastoral counties? Sink boreholes. People are dying of hunger and lack of water. We forget about dams in this country. But we're very happy fertilizers are there. And we wonder when those fertilizers were procured. That is a question mark that we need to ask ourselves. Kids are not going to school today because of drought. Nobody is even talking about it. And we are very proud that Kenya Kwanza, we are the ones leading the government. We do marvelous. Yes, you will do marvelous. But what are the pastoralist communities doing, or they are suffering today, and nobody is actually talking about them? Right now, I was just sent a message by somebody where they are saying people are dropping dead. Mr. Speaker.
I'm giving you the...
Mr. Speaker, I was given 2 minutes, and Senator Cherargei should give me time to finish.
Actually,
Mr. Speaker.
You have 3 more minutes to
3 more minutes, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Senator Cherargei, what is it?
Mr. Speaker, issues of fertilizer. We have 4 months. Mr. Speaker, can you tell Cherargei to sit down?
I give him the opportunity to prosecute his point of order. You know, you are 2 senior members of this House and you know one another very much.
But he's interrupting.
So, Senator Cherargei, we want really to know between the two of you, every time you speak, she puts a point of order. Every time she is on the floor, you put point of order.
Mr. Speaker, I raise Standing Order 101 because Senator Dulo is misleading the House. You remember this government is only less than 30 days. And arguing that whether this procurement of fertilizers were done, she is aware that the government exists. And I'm very sorry because it looks like Senator Dulo, being in opposition, is making her make some statements that she doesn't even believe in it. Mr. Speaker, the country should be patient. 28 days is not even enough to make a baby, Mr. Speaker. So even pregnancy takes 9 months, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, under 101, the Standing Order 101, Senator Dulo should not introduce the points of argument in her submission, Mr. Speaker, because if she wants a substantive reply, then she knows the procedure that needs to be done.
Proceed, Senator Nduro.
Mr. Speaker, I think Senator Cherargei should really be serious about the point of order he's raising. Because if I want to challenge the issues of fertilizer, it's not a priority for us today. We need food on the table. So if you want to tell me that food is not a priority, we wait for 3 more months for us to use fertilizer. That's not a solution to our problems. No, I don't need point of information. I don't want to be informed, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Senator Fatumo Nduro, kindly finish up.
I am finishing up, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. The issues of judiciary given more resource allocation, Mr. Speaker. For me, that is not a priority. What I would have expected the president to do is to increase county government budgetary allocation from 15 to 35% or 40%. That is where we need that money. It's not in judiciary. Judiciary, in as much as we say they are fighting corruption, they are the most corrupt in this country, and I dare say that. Mr. Speaker, from the statement of the president, when he says that he has increased resource to judiciary, and I'm sad to say this, the other day we've seen judges queuing with us receiving the president. This is not the institution. The institution is at the High Court judiciary. For the last 10 years I've been in this house, I've never seen CJ coming and queuing with us. What does that mean? What do Kenyans say about that? On top of that, they are given increased resource allocation, it's a question mark that we need to ask ourselves. And Kenyans are saying, Mr. Speaker, I am finishing. Mr. Speaker. I am finishing, Mr.
Your
Speaker.
time is up, Senator Duro. Kindly, your time is up.
Mr. Speaker.
Your time is up. Okay, let us, next is...
Mr. Speaker, I am concluding. And Senator Cherargei and Senator Kinyua allow me to finish. Finally, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order from the majority leader.
Tulia Fatuma. Mr. Speaker, I'd wish to understand Senator Fatuma Dulo's line of thinking. Is it a submission that we have such fickle characters in the office of a Chief Justice and Deputy Chief Justice, such that a simple act of honor, just receiving a president in parliament, will alter their thinking in how they run the judiciary of this republic? Secondly, Mr. Speaker, is it also her submission that we shouldn't, as parliament, team up with the executive in increasing funding to the judiciary so that there is access to justice, including in our own county of Isiolo, where when we went for a campaign, the residents of Isiolo were pleading that they need a high court or even a court of appeal built in our county? How are we going to achieve that if their senator is here on the floor saying that we shouldn't increase the allocation to the judiciary? I want to understand that, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker.
You have very few seconds to...
No, I have very few minutes to finish. Mr. Speaker.
Seconds, please.
Seconds, Mr. Speaker. Do you want to tell us, Senator Cheriot, Majority Leader of this House?
And when you have the right trend, you know your time is up, actually.
My time is up, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
I am right to my opinion, and I have a right to have my opinion. But what I'm saying is there are right procedures in actually increasing resource. And my submission is it judiciary or county governments that require increased resource allocation? Yeah?
Thank you.
That is what I want to ask. Thank you.
Let us have Senator Murango. Senator Murango.
Asante sana mstahiki Spika kwa kunipa nafasi ili kuweza kuongea kidogo kuhusu hotuba ya rais katika bunge ya 13. Mstahiki Spika, sisi katika Kiswahili kuna wahusika wakuu na wahusika wa kupachikwa. Nilipoangalia mstahiki Spika nakala ya hotuba ya rais, nimeona inawiana kabisa na manifesto ambayo tulikuwa nayo kama Kenya Kwanza. Mstahiki Spika, na kwa hiyo sisi ni wahusika wakuu, na ningetaka kumpa kongole rais kwa hotuba ambayo alitoa na kauli zake aliyotoa katika bunge ya 13. Nitaanza kwanza na kilimo. Katika kilimo, nimetoka Kirinyaga ambako sisi ni kaunti ambayo iko na mradi wa kulima mchele, mpunga, ambao ni kubwa sana katika Afrika na katika Kenya hii. Na ambapo pia kuna miradi mingine kama Mbura, Tana, Pakera, Hero, Bunyala na West Kano. Na ni vizuri kusema ya kwamba katika kilimo, kama tunataka tuwe na chakula katika Kenya hii, lazima tufanye mambo kadhaa ili tuweze kupata chakula ambayo itatosha katika Kenya hii. Ya kwanza ni kuongeza ama kufanya value addition. Na ninapoongea saa hii katika maeneo ya Mwea ambapo wanakuza nyanya, lile sanduku moja la nyanya ambao ni kilo 60.
Senator moment, just a moment, Senator Murango.
Mheshimiwa Spika, singependa kumhujumu ndugu yangu Senator Murango ambaye anazungumza Kiswahili kwa ufasaha, lakini nasikitika kwamba anasoma mchango wake katika bunge hili la Senate. Ameangalia hivi sasa, amekaa iwasoma, hata amwangalii speaker iwasikiza au hasikizi. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo si sawa. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Mstahiki Spika, pia ningeomba ulinzi kutoka kwa rafiki yangu Senator Faki ambaye kwamba ameanza kuonyesha dalili za kigaidi, kwa sababu Mheshimiwa Faki, mimi sisomi chochote katika karatasi, lakini pia niko na nakala ya hotuba ya rais ambayo nafuatilia kwa makini. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna mambo kadhaa ambayo nilikuwa nimeongelelea, na kwanza nilikuwa nimeanza na kilimo. Na nilikuwa nimesema ya kwamba nimetoka eneo la Kirinyaga ambako kilimo ndio jambo ambalo wakulima wanafanya kila siku kule. Na katika kilimo kile kuna kahawa, kuna mchele, kuna majani chai, na pia ukulima wa samaki na vitu vinginezo. Kwa hivyo tunapokuza zile vitu, kama sasa nasema tukienda pale soko ya Makutano asubuhi ya leo nikipita pale, sanduku moja la nyanya kilo 60 ni 1500. Na kwa hivyo kama tungeweza kufanya kile kinaitwa value addition.
Samani Senator Morango, nitaomba usisome moja kwa moja.
Mheshimiwa,
wewe zungumuza ukiangalia speaker, unaangalia noti zako alafu unaniangalia, ndio tuendelee.
Nadhani pia mimi ni mrefu kidogo, sasa nikisimama hii sijui kama nitafikia hii kipasha sauti, lakini nitaendelea tu. Na pia ningetaka kusema ya kwamba mstahiki Spika, hotuba natoa kwa Kiswahili lakini nimeandika kwa Kizungu. Kwa hivyo hakuna uwezekano wa mimi kusoma wakati natoa taarifa yangu. Asante sana. Mstahiki Spika, ningeomba sasa nipewe ulizi niweze kumaliza, kwa sababu niko karibu kusahau ambao nataka. Jambo ambalo rais wetu alisema na kuwekea akaongea kwa makini ni kwamba ili tuweze kupata chakula ya kutosha hapa, lazima tufanye kilimo na kupeana pia mbolea ambayo iko na ruzuku ili wakulima wetu waweze kuipata. Nataka kumshukuru ya kwamba tayari ashaanza kufanya hivyo, na hiyo mbolea ishafikia wakulima, na hiyo ni jambo muhimu katika kuongeza chakula nchini. Katika license ambazo zinatumika kwa wale ambao wanataka kuuza mazao yao katika nchi za nje, tungependa, na rais alisema ni vizuri tuondoe utawala wa ziada ili wakulima waweze kupata zile licenses ili waweze kuuza mazao yao nje. Pia ningetaka kuongezea katika pale ukulima wa mchele na pia katika ukulima wa mahindi, tukiweza kutumia mitambo ya kisasa itakuwa ni vizuri zaidi ili kuongeza kilimo. Mstahiki Spika, sasa tunapoongea nataka nimshukuru rais wetu, kwa sababu ukienda maeneo yote katika Kirinyaga, mbolea ambayo ilikuwa imeletwa kwa bei nafuu, saa hii wakulima wanasanjirishwa na wataweza kuitumia na kuongeza kilimo pale. Jambo la pili, nitaenda kwa pesa ambayo inapewa maskini wanaoitwa hasara. Ni wazi ya kwamba kizingiti kikubwa katika ufanyaji wa biashara katika wale watu ambao wako na uwezo kidogo wa kupata fedha ni mtaji, ambayo inaitwa kwa Kiingereza capital. Rais wetu kwa kutoa na kuhakikisha kwamba atapeana bilioni 50 katika kusaidia wale, tutaweza kuwainua ili waweze kufanya biashara zao, na ni kusema watu wakipata biashara zao wataweza kufanya mambo mengine kama kusomesha watoto, na pia watakuwa na pesa ya kufanya mambo mengineo. Ya tatu, nitaenda niongee kuhusu sheria. Kuna sheria gandamizi ambazo limetengenezwa na mbunge ambazo lazima tuziangalie. Nitaongea kuhusu sheria ilifanywa mwaka wa 2013 shirika la AFA ambayo ilikataza kuuza makandamia, kuuza pia korosho bila kwanza kuja kuzitoa maganda katika nchi za nje. Nikataka kusema sheria zile hazikufaidi mkulima kwa sababu mambo nyenye wachache tu ndo wananufaika, kwa sababu wakulima wengi wana uwezo wa kuweka ile mitambo ya kutoa maganda zile makandamia, korosho na zinginezo. Kwa hivyo ningeomba bunge hili ikifika wakati tuweze kutoa zile sheria ili wakulima wengi katika Kenya hii waweze kuuza mazao yao kwa bei nafuu bila kugandamizwa. Kuna dhamana ya viwango ambapo wakulima watakuwa wanalipwa, wenye kulima kahawa, majani chai na vitu vinginezo. Na nataka niseme ya kwamba katika manifesto ya Kenya Kwanza tumeongea kwamba tutawapatia wakulima viwango vya chini vya pesa ambazo wanafaa kulima wanafaa kupata ili kuwawezesha waweze kulima bila shinda nyingi, na ndio inaitwa kwa kimombo guaranteed minimum returns. Wakulima akijua ya kwamba mtu anayelima mchele, mwenye analima ngano, maziwa na zinginezo, kutakuwa na kiwango fulani cha pesa, ataweza kujipanga vilivyo ili aweze kutoa hata zaidi kutoshelesha mahitaji Kenya hii. Nitaongea kuhusu stima. Miradi ambayo nimetanja sana kama ile ya Tana River na Pekera, kuna ile ambayo inatumia sana mashine kutoa stima ambayo inapiga maji kupeleka mashambani. Na kama bei ya stima itaendelea kuwa ghali, itakuwa ni ngumu sana kuweza kutoa maji pia kwa bei nafuu. Kwa hivyo pia katika sehemu ya 32 naona rais aliongelea kuhusu stima, na ni vizuri pia hata kama watu binafsi watawezeshwa kutoa stima kwa bei nafuu. Na pia mstahiki Spika, ningetaka kuongelea kuna gazeti notice ambayo ilitolewa juzi na serikali ambayo imeondoka kuongeza bei ya maji. Mbeleni wakulima mmoja walikuwa nalima eka moja na walikuwa nalipia maji shilingi 5,000. Katika ile gazeti notice ambayo ilitolewa, saa hii mkulima anafaa kulipa 20,000 ya maji. Najua katika taarifa ya rais, na kwa sababu saa hii hivi karibuni tutakuwa na baraza jipya la mawaziri, waziri wa maji ataangalia sehemu hii na kutupilia mbali hiyo tangazo ambayo liko katika gazeti ya serikali, ili wakulima waweze kupata maji kwa bei nafuu, mbolea kwa bei nafuu, ili waweze kulima na kupata mapato hata zaidi. Asante sana mstahiki Spika.
Asante sana.
Umesikia Kiswahili safi faki.
Who is Senator Mruma? What is out of order?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to take this opportunity to move a motion that pursuant to Standing Order 34.4a, the Senate resolves to extend its sitting time today, Tuesday, 11th October 2022, until the conclusion of the business appearing in the order of paper 8 and number 8 in today's supplementary order paper. Mr. Speaker, this motion has been occasioned by the fact that we are heading towards 6:30, and there are so many people who would want to contribute to the President's speech. And so, because everyone would want to contribute to the speech and tweak the speech and the promise or not around the needs of the counties and the special interest groups that they present in this Senate, I would wish to have that motion passed, and I would like to request Senator Nderitu to second.
Senator Kinyua Nderitu.
Bwana Spika, nashukuru mswada huo mimi naunga mkono. Nasema unafaa zaidi kwa sababu ya muda, na kila mtu yuko hapa anataka kuchangia na kusema mambo matatu au mambo machache kuhusu hotuba ya rais, ambayo ni hotuba ambayo ilikuwa ni hotuba ambayo ni hotuba ya kufana, na ni hotuba ambayo kila Mkenya yeyote alifurahia na ndiposa maseneta walio hapa wanataka kuchangia na kuleta maneno yao yaweze kusikizwa, na kwa hivyo mimi Speaker naunga mkono.
Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order that 44A, the Senate resolves to extend its sitting time today, Tuesday, 11th October 2022, until the conclusion of the business appearing in order number 8 in today's supplementary order paper. Senator Cherage? Oh, okay. A question. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order that 44A, the Senate resolves to extend its sitting time today, Tuesday, 11th October 2022, until the conclusion of the business appearing in order number 8 in today's supplementary order paper. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Senator Hillary? Oh, sorry. Oh, there is another procedural motion that I want to execute. Senator Chelagai, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, looking at the time and appreciating the fact that you have sat for some time, Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move pursuant to Article 107(1)(c) of the Constitution and Standing Order number 18, the Senate elects Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei and Senator Abdul Haji to preside over sittings of the Senate for the remainder of the day today, Tuesday, 11th October 2022, and tomorrow, Wednesday, 12th October 2022, in the absence of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and it is important so that we can allow the efficiency and effectiveness of the House and be able to dispose of the business of the House that we have today and tomorrow. And Mr. Speaker, looking at the esteemed members of the Senate, Senator Haji and Senator Sigei, of course, are members that are respectable in this House, and they have capacity and ability to discharge with military precision their mandate. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move and request Senator Mohamed Faki Mwenye Haji to second. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa ya kuunga mkono hoja ya Senator Cherargei. Mheshimiwa Spika, bunge hili lilianza kazi hivi karibuni na tumeona kwamba tumekuwa na vikao ambavyo vimeweza kuenda kwa muda mrefu. Wiki iliyokwisha tulipokuwa na kikao cha kwanza, tulikaa hapa mpaka saa 1:30 wakati Spika Mheshimiwa Kingi alikuwa kwenye kiti kuanzia saa 8:30 mpaka saa 1:30 usiku tulipoahirisha kikao. Mheshimiwa Spika, hiyo ilikuwa ni kazi ya ziada kwa Spika kwa sababu alikuwa yuko peke yake. Mheshimiwa Spika, na leo pia tumeona kwamba umekuwa kwenye kiti kuanzia saa 8:30 mpaka sasa saa 12 karibu, na hii inamaanisha kwamba ni viongozi ambao mmejitolea kuendesha bunge hili bila ya kujali kuchoka ama wakati ambao mmeweza kufanya mkiwa mmekaa katika kiti. Kwa Mheshimiwa Spika, kuchaguliwa kwa Mheshimiwa Senator Sigei na Senator Haji kama maspika mbadala itasaidia pakubwa kuendesha shughuli za bunge hili mpaka pale wakati bunge litakapokamilika na kuwa na maspika wa muda kadhaa kama inavyotarajiwa katika kanuni za bunge hili. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, naunga mkono.
Thank you. I propose the question that honorable senators Pursuant to Article 107(1)(c) of the Constitution and Standing Order 18, the Senate elects Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei and Senator Abdul Haji to preside over sittings of the Senate for the remainder of the day today, Tuesday, 11th October 2022, and tomorrow, Wednesday, 12th October 2022, in the absence of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. If that is the mood of the House, I proceed to put the question that pursuant to Article 107(1)(c) of the Constitution and Standing Order 18, the Senate elects Senator Wakili Hilary Sigei and Senator Abdul Haji to preside over sittings of the Senate for the remainder of the day today, Tuesday, 11th October 2022, and tomorrow, Wednesday, 12th October 2022, in the absence of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Thank you. So, Senator Abdul Haji, it's your time to contribute. No, it's okay. It's okay. Fine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, to begin, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my warmest congratulations to the President and his Kenya Kwanza team on their well-earned victory in the just recently concluded general elections. In the same breath, Mr. Speaker, sir, I would also like to congratulate the Speaker and yourself for your election and to wish you all the best in your role. I would also like to take the same opportunity to congratulate each and every senator for being entrusted with the responsibility of representing Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, sir, to my understanding, the purpose of the presidential speech during the opening of Parliament, as is traditional world over, is for the head of state to present his statement of intention or his statement of intent to the House regarding the social and economic agenda for the country. In my view, the President's speech and his intentions for the country seem to be well timed, as it seeks to address the fundamental social economic factors required to propel this country forward. As legislators, we must commit to play our role together with other arms of government to ensure this is accomplished. Interrogating the manner in which this will be carried out is one of our main responsibilities. Mr. Speaker, sir, I must say in overall the President's speech touches on issues that really matter to the people of Kenya, such as issues of austerity measures in the government budget and expenditure, issues on restructuring the NHIF and NSSF scheme to ensure that it is more efficient and reliable to the people, issues on abandonment of consumption subsidies in favor for investing and supporting production are all good agendas and appear to be well intentioned. Mr. Speaker, sir, my attention has been drawn to two aspects of the President's speech. The first is water, a subject that is very dear to me and the people living in ASAL areas who are perpetually afflicted by lengthy, severe drought as the one we are currently facing. I was delighted to hear the President's intention to increase access to water from the current 60% to 80%. Mr. Speaker, sir, while this plan is well-intentioned, we must also proceed with caution to avoid forcing the common mwananchi to pay more per unit for something which is considered to be a basic human right. This largely relies on how the government intends to structure their PPP arrangement as they go about executing their plan. We must be cognizant to the fact that certain PPP arrangements have been flawed and have resulted to unintended consequences. Mr. Speaker, sir, secondly, I am drawn to the issue raised by the President in regards to his intention to reform the tax model. His intention to review and reform the tax model is commendable. However, the proposal to introduce wealth tax, in my opinion, runs the risk of being counterproductive in growing our economy. Mr. Speaker, sir, in my humble opinion, targeting wealth to widen the tax base is misguided. Wealth is simply accumulated savings which is available for further investment into the economy. The fortunes of the wealthy mainly consist of active business assets that generate jobs and income. Increasing taxes on wealth will not help workers or bring about equality, but instead will undermine productivity and wage growth and might lead to capital flight. Mr. Speaker, sir, most countries world over have repealed their wealth taxes for a combination of reasons. They realized that it raised very little revenue to start with. It created high administrative costs. It encouraged tax avoidance and tax evasion. It induced an outflow of wealthy individuals and their money, and also led to double taxation. What this means is that wealthy people will be charged twice, first for earning their income and second for retaining it, which in essence is both punitive and discriminatory. If we want to jumpstart our economy and create employment, wealth taxation will send the wrong signals to the investors that we currently have and the investors that we so desperately need to attract. Mr. Speaker, sir, the money market is a very sensitive market. Let us not send the wrong signals to the investors. Mr. Speaker, sir, if the President wants to reform the tax model, then I will urge him to look at ways to reform the tax model in such a way that it attracts wealthy individuals into the country and their monies, and it attracts them to settle in Kenya and live in Kenya so that we can actually tax them on their income and not on their wealth. Simply put, turn Kenya into a safe haven for investors and attract more wealth into the country. As I mentioned earlier, Mr. Speaker, sir, I thought the President's speech on the whole was reasonably impressive, and I applaud him for his ambitious plan he has outlined to bring this country back on track. I can only hope that the President and his government are successful, because if they are, it will mean that the country as a whole becomes more prosperous and the living standards of Kenyans improves, and that is what really matters. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Senator Wakili Hilary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity that you've granted me this evening to also contribute to the speech of the President in his address to the Parliament on the 29th of September 2022. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to congratulate the President and his team, together with all the members of this House who were successful in the election that was conducted on the 9th of August and are here representing their various constituencies in the big and heavy responsibility of undertaking a 5-year term that has and expects them to do the role of oversight in this House and beyond. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me also to thank and appreciate the leadership of this House and the membership that has just elected me and my fellow colleague senator to the Speaker's panel. And I hope and believe that we shall do that which is expected of us in the remaining session of this evening, tomorrow and Thursday, as the motion has just been passed. Mr. Speaker, sir, in the run-up to the election, we went out campaigning to our various constituents and constituencies with a set of that which we called manifestos. The speech by the President spoke into a plan that he had set out in his campaigns throughout the period of the campaign. In my very brief and short commentary to it, I will, Mr. Speaker, begin to laud his speech and on the issue of the judiciary that a number of my colleagues here have spoken to. Mr. Speaker, sir, the President, in his first assignment after being sworn in, confirmed and indeed made to be true the commitment that he will support dispensation of justice in this country. And he did that by appointing the judges to their offices, whom they had not been appointed for a very long time for reasons which were known. The President in his speech also, Mr. Speaker, indeed confirmed that his administration will allow the judiciary to have the independence that is required. By doing that, Mr. Speaker, he is also confirming and giving confidence to the Kenyans of goodwill that there will be no interference by the administration of the Kenya Kwanza in the service that the judiciary is expected to render to the people of this country. Mr. Speaker, sir, he did indeed in his speech confirm that the funding to the judiciary will be made to be that which is expected in order to enhance that independence. That, Mr. Speaker, I believe is a very important step in the leadership style and the speech that it confirmed that we will also honor and respect the independence of the organs which the Constitution of Kenya establishes. I laud His Excellency the President for that. In his speech, he went ahead to confirm and requested Kenyans of goodwill and leadership to ensure that the judiciary is allowed to deal with issues, and in particular, he did confirm that his administration will assist to ensure that the fight against corruption is enhanced. By allowing the judiciary to be independent, by allowing the judiciary to run its affairs, the fight against corruption is one that I believe in the fullness of time will be a thing of the past. In this case, Mr. Speaker, I look at the representation in terms of the paragraphs where the President spoke about this fight. Under Section 62 of the Anti-Corruption Economic Crimes Act,
Sorry,
the element...
Just a minute, Senator Wakili Hilary. What is out of order, Senator Okech?
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a point of order 105, which is the responsibility for statement of fact. And my colleague, Senator Sigei, is misrepresenting the speech of the President in line 19 of the president's speech, the president says that it is in this spirit that I will be seeking additional resources to support the bottom-up scaling of justice and empowerment of the judiciary to acquire capacity. The president is saying that against the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Article 173 of the Constitution is very clear in sub-article 3 and 4, which I'll read because it is becoming irritable to keep on hearing things that might lead to interfering with independent institutions. And judiciary is one core one that we cannot gamble with. Sub-article 1 of Article 173 says that each financial year, the Chief Registrar shall prepare estimates of expenditure of the following year and submit them to the National Assembly for approval. Sub-article 4 indicates that on approval of the estimates by the National Assembly, the expenditure of the judiciary shall not be a charge, shall be a charge on the consolidated fund and the fund that shall be paid directly into the judicial fund. Mr. Speaker, the intention of these articles are not to the point that the executive shall initiate the request of any kind of funds to the judiciary, Mr. Speaker. Is it in order if we endorse such statement as empowering the executive to initiate any financial requests on behalf of the judiciary? And in the spirit of Article 160, are we not starting to see a culture whereby we are going to interfere with the independence of the judiciary? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So were you trying to give Senator Hillary more information? Were you giving clarification? Yeah.
Senator Hillary was misinforming the House that the president actually does have power to actually initiate.
I did not hear that misinformation. Maybe can you clarify yourself, Senator Hillary?
Mr. Speaker, I would have wished my colleague was listening to my statement because I picked it in the context of what the President stated in paragraph 18 and 19. And he's actually read it well. What the President meant was that he will actually be seeking additional resources. I'm very sure my colleague is aware of the procedure and the processes within which the Parliament can and should deal with such issues as this one, which the President was making reference to in his inaugural speech to the Parliament. Mr. Speaker, allow me to continue. I believe I still have the floor. The second item that, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to speak to was also the President's paragraph 17, where this House has previously been taken through by earlier senators who spoke to the speech, where they have stated that the President is seeking to amend the Constitution in the back door. I believe it was Senator Oburu who said that he is not expecting the President to amend the Constitution by that reference in paragraph 17 of his speech, where the President stated that he will be seeking the House to enhance or to make appropriate mechanisms. Mr. Speaker, it has been before this House stated that there is a procedure. Article 153 of the Constitution is available in terms of cabinet secretaries being required to appear before this House. Mechanism is a means within which the President was making reference to how do we ensure that they appear before the House to deal with the business or the issue that the House requires of them to do. In that context, I have searched, and Mr. Speaker, the Legal Information Institute refers mechanism as administrative procedure or guideline, manual or written statement. It is not an invitation to the House to amend the Constitution when the President makes reference to the fact that he would, in the near future, seek mechanisms through which cabinet secretaries are to be invited before the House to answer to concerns or questions that the House requires. Mr. Speaker, I would like to speak to the issue of the President's comments on the need to have a united country called Kenya. The President in his speech indeed confirmed that he would be a president of the people of Kenya, those who voted for him or those who voted for his competitor. And to that extent, he invited the House, and I believe that this House will be such house where debate and all the transaction or business transactions that will be done in this House will be for the benefit of the House. It will not matter as to whether there is a majority or the minority. However, I do appreciate the fact that indeed we will be having the majority leading the business of the House, which business will be for the benefit of all the Kenyans, notwithstanding their political divide or persuasion. Mr. Speaker, I want also to speak to the element of agriculture. In the course of all our campaigns, we did preach that this will be one of those issues the government of Kenya Kwanza will push. Mama Mboga, the boda boda guy, back down in the village, deal with these issues on a daily basis. When the President makes reference to creation of affordable credit, he's speaking to the interest of the common mwananchi. This government was formed on the strength of what we call the hustler. The hustler is that person who needs that credit to be made available to them. I believe that this House shall and will do its best to ensure that what the President requested in his desire to have affordable credit will push to do or to amend or legislate where necessary so that such hustlers are also assisted in their business enterprises. It takes the goodwill, it takes the interest of this House, notwithstanding the political divides we come from, to ensure that where necessary, legislations are made that will reach out to the person who is in the lowest level of administration of this country. I believe it is in this government that we are going to do it, that we are going to ensure that we enhance the technology that is available so that the lowest level is reached in whatever means that we have or that we are going to create. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage the House to read positive and to read goodwill in that speech that the President made without necessarily carrying out an analysis in a very pessimistic way that drives towards just negating the speech for the sake of negating the speech. I believe that without reaching out, there is nothing much that we can do. The President reached out to all the people of Kenya to sit back, support, and enhance that which the Kenya Kwanza government will be going to do in its 5-year plan. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, he outlined also a number of areas with which he would wish to have the House support in terms of enhancing the tax bracket, in terms of ensuring that there is a reduction of that which is painful to the common mwananchi. If we were to be sought for as a House to help in enhancement on amendments to the tax regime, it is for the good of the country. When we tax wealth, rather than taxing the small mwananchi, we are creating that which is going to help our people, the Kenyans, to grow themselves in terms of the business enterprises they are running, and also create a path for the government in order to make sure that it is able to finance the programs that the country or the government of the day is planning to do. Mr. Speaker, sir, he spoke about ensuring that there is sufficient public participation in the programs or the plans that the government of Kenya Kwanza is going to do. I believe that this House will be one such House where when such programs are brought before the House, there is total support in objectivity, because at the end of the day, we have a House that is involved in the interest of the people of Kenya, whom we have sought for to serve for the period of 5 years. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I conclude, I would like to appreciate and thank the people who chose this government, and in particular, I would like to appreciate the people of Bomet County who gave me the opportunity to serve in this august house. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Hillary. Honorable Senators, the members on my right hand side, and it's an advantage because the young gadgets are not working. So I want to confirm that the members here in this list, so you check whether you are in my list before you sit forever and you feel to be captured, so that the speakers who will be here can be able to guide the House properly. Senator Kinyua, Senator Medhu, Senator Chesang, Senator Miriam Omar, Senator Matinga, Senator Bugwa, Senator Milaj, Senator Modigi, and Senator Chute. Any other senator, honorable senator, who is on this end and would like to contribute to this motion? I assume the ones on my left-hand side are all on the list because the gadgets are working. Okay. Next is Senator Agnes Kavidu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to be able to contribute to the President's speech. And I really don't know what happened to the gadget because I would have contributed a long time ago. But anyway, I thank you for now. Let me start by congratulating the President for his election and congratulating you, Speaker, for the position that you got to lead us in this House. And I want to take also this opportunity to congratulate all the senators who are elected and even those who are nominated. And I want to take this opportunity and thank the people of Machakos County for electing me, for re-electing me a second time into this House because they have faith in me. I thank the people of Machakos very much. Mr. Speaker, I want to contribute to many of the points because they've already been contributed to, but I want to speak on women and the political place for women. Women go through a lot, so I expect the President, I know, okay, 29 of them were elected in the Parliament, and 3 of us were elected in the Senate. Last Senate, we were 4 of us, so we dropped by 1. And I want to say that by this, the way women face difficulties during elections, I personally I had faced a lot of difficulties last year when I was being elected. Abusive words and all these things, and many people have not many women have not developed thick skin to stand all those abusive words and bullying of the men on the political arena. So I would request the President and the executive, and also us who are the lawmakers here in this Senate and in the Parliament, to see what laws we can put in place to protect women. Because I'm sure women can be elected. I've vied amongst many men and I've won the election. So I know many women can go there and be elected, but only they shy from this bullying of men. On the other point is on food security. Food security, Mr. Speaker, almost every time we have drought, we run for food here and there, and we do things which are not permanent. And I would want to request and ask the President and the executive and the lawmakers to come up with a law that or a system that will make sure that we will have sufficient food in this country, and that will not be running up and down every time there is a shortage of rain. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak about Machakos County, which was removed from ASOL areas, and yet there is a lot of drought in Machakos, there is a lot of famine in Machakos, and even as food is being dispatched to other areas, the people of Machakos are not getting any food. And I would request that the people of Machakos be considered, and I would also request the Committee of Devolution, when it comes in place, to check on the statement that I had given, asking for Machakos to be returned back to also areas because of the drought that is there, and because we deserve it, and it is needed there. Actually, water is an issue, is a big issue in Machakos County, and not only Machakos County, even Kitui, Ukambani as a whole, water is a big issue. I would want to speak on electricity also. Electricity that we pay so much money in Nairobi, most of it comes from Masinga Dam. Mr. Speaker, most of this electricity comes from Masinga Dam, where the people of Machakos from Masinga do not benefit, and yet people, that electricity comes to Nairobi and people pay for that electricity, and Machakos County does not benefit from it. I would ask that the people of Machakos benefit from this electricity that is tapped from Masinga Dam, just like the Muranga senator said about the water from Muranga, which is true, and I quite agree with him that the people of Muranga should benefit from their water, and so the people of Machakos, Mr. Speaker, should benefit from the electricity that comes from Masinga Dam to Nairobi. I want to comment on the Hustlers Fund, the 50 billion. I quite support this, but I would want a proper law to be put in place to safeguard this money and to make sure that this money goes to the hustlers and they are aware of the fund. Because we have, Mr. Speaker, we have many other funds that the hustlers would benefit from, even right now, even before the 50 billion for the hustlers fund is put in place. We have the youth fund, we have the women fund, we have Wezo fund. We have so many of those funds that they would benefit from, and majority of them do not even know that those funds exist, and so they don't benefit from it. And so I pray that this 50 billion fund for hustlers will not be another fund that the people who are supposed to benefit from it will not even know that it is there, it is in place, and they should benefit from it. And a law should be put in place, and also they should be they should be taught about these other funds that are there, that they can benefit and do business, because we have all those funds that which they can utilize and do funds with it. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak on the CDF money. Right now, as we speak, Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to say that majority of children who come from very poor homes are at home. They've already been sent home. There is no bursary to take them back to school, and they're at home. So I support this one, as the President said that it will come back. And as it comes back, I would also pray that it comes back together with the oversight kit fund for the Senate, because it has also been very difficult for the senators to do their oversight work properly, because we depend mostly on the controller of budgets to come down to the ground and do to check the budgets and how it has been used, and they give their report. We depend so much on their report. We also depend so much on the report of Auditor General, which is not sufficient for a senator to be able to do what they should be doing at the ground. So as a CDF kit comes, my prayer is that it will come together with the oversight kit, and it will be put in the Constitution, that it will not be something that is just lying somewhere which can be stopped anytime by anyone. Also, that should also come with the GAV, the Women Rep Fund that they use to support the women groups at the ground and the youth and the PWDs, because that also should be anchored somewhere in our constitution so that it will not just be hanging somewhere where it can be taken away or any time, or somebody just goes to court to stop it, like the CDF, somebody has gone to court to stop it. Most of the things have been talked of, and let me not just repeat and repeat and repeat. Let me reach there, and I congratulate the president. I know he has goodwill for this country, but what I can ask this house, especially the majority side and the minority side, when it comes to a law or a bill or a statement that will benefit our people down at the ground, please let us support. Let us not just refuse because we are refusing, but let us support that which will be of benefit to our people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support.
Thank you. Senator Kinyo.
Asante sana Bwana Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii niweze kuchangia katika hotuba ya rais. Lakini kwanza kabisa nataka kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu kwa kuweza kutupa fursa hii kuweza kuja hapa, na tena nataka kushukuru rais wangu Mheshimiwa William Samoei Ruto pamoja na naibu wake Mheshimiwa Rigathi Gachagua kwa kunipa fursa mimi niweze kuwania kiti cha seneta na chama cha UDA. Nasema asanti kwao. Tena nataka kushukuru watu wa Laikipia kwa sababu walinipa kura mpaka nikaweza kuibuka mshindi. Nasema asanti sana kwao. Tena nataka kuwapongeza maseneta wote ambao waliweza kuchaguliwa na wale ambao waliteuliwa, na waambia heko na tutaweza kufanya kazi pamoja. Bwana Spika, nikubalie niseme ya kwamba hotuba hii ya rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya ni ya kuangazia mambo muhimu ambayo yeye ananuia kutenda. Nimesikiza ndugu zangu hapa wakiongea ni kana kwamba yeye tayari hayo mambo ameyafanya. Hapana, haya ni mambo yeye ambayo ananuia kufanya, na ikiwa pengine ungetaka kujua zaidi, kwa sababu mimi na uhakika kuna mambo mengi ambayo atafanya, ni vizuri tu kama seneta badala ya kupinga uangalie manifesto ya chama cha Kenya Kwanza. Utaelewa maneno ambayo serikali itafanya, na ni vizuri tuweze kuwapatia muda. Nimesikia Seneta Cherargei akisema hapa, na amesema vizuri, kwa sababu hata serikali yenyewe haijamaliza siku 30. Ni siku chache sana baada ya kuapishwa, lakini nasikia wengine wakikashifu mambo hajatendeka. Nimemsikiza seneta wa kutoka Homa Bay Mheshimiwa Kajwang akisema ya kwamba ati vitu vimeongezeka, unga umeongezeka, kila vitu vingi amevitaja vimeongezeka. Lakini kweli usemwe, Mswahili anasema mgala muue na haki umpe. Tulipoingia tulipata hazina kitu chochote. Hazina zote zilikuwa tupu. Serikali iliyoko ilikuwa tayari hakuna hela ziliko katika hazina zetu. Kwa hivyo mimi nataka kushukuru rais, kwa sababu hata baada ya hayo unaona ya kwamba mbolea imepunguzwa bei kutoka shilingi shilingi 6,000 sasa inauzwa na shilingi 3,500. Hiyo ni jambo ya muhimu ambayo imetekelezwa. Nikiangalia katika hotuba yake tena amesema ya kwamba sisi tujidhatiti tuziondoe tuweze kubadilisha ama kuzipiga msasa hizi kanuni zetu za kudumu, tuweze kuwaita mawaziri hapa na waweze kuulizwa maswali moja kwa moja. Hilo mimi nasema ni jambo muhimu na tunapaswa kulifanya, ndiposa wakati tunataka kuuliza maswali sisi kama wakilishi wa wananchi tunamuuliza waziri moja kwa moja, si kutumia kamati vile ambavyo tumekuwa tukifanya. Tunatumia kamati zetu, zinaenda zinauliza wale mawaziri, na mimi nakumbuka nikiwa kama mwenyekiti wa kamati mnamuita waziri haji. Lakini sasa ikiwa tutakuwa tumebadilisha kanuni zetu, tunamuita waziri anakuja hapa moja kwa moja, hilo litakuwa ni jambo nzuri na tutaweza kupata majibu ya sawasawa moja kwa moja. Jambo lingine ambalo linifurahisha zaidi ni ukiangalia mambo ya mahakama. Rais tayari ameteua majaji wale ambao walikuwa wamekaa muda mrefu kabla ya kuteuliwa. Alafu amesema ya kwamba atajaribu, na amesema vizuri, nimesikia ikisemekana hapa, lakini rais mwenyewe alisema ataongea na bunge, ataongea na watu ambao wanahusika, ndiposa hela ziweze kuongezeka zile ambazo zinatumiwa na pale mahakamani. Kwa hivyo hilo ni jambo zuri tena, na mahakama zikipata hela wataweza kufanya kazi yao kwa uadilifu bila kukaa wakibabaishwa na kukua hawana hela za kutosha. Jambo lingine ambalo limenifurahisha ni ya kwamba rais, hata ijapokuwa pengine hakulisema hile jambo, lakini tayari amelitekeleza. Maafisa wetu wa usalama wamepewa kitite cha pesa, wao wenyewe hata kuwa kitegemea ofisi ya rais wakitaka chochote. Na hilo jambo mimi nasema ni vizuri sana, kwa sababu tumekuwa kila wakati, hasa mimi nimetoka Laikipia, mahali mambo ya usalama imekuwa ni kizungumkuti. Ukienda police station kuripoti chochote, unaambiwa ya kwamba ati hawana mafuta. Lakini hilo ni jambo ambalo litakuwa limekoma, kwa sababu watakuwa wakipata pesa zao moja kwa moja, wao watakuwa wakijitegemea. Kwa hivyo hilo nampongeza rais, na nasema tutamuunga mkono 100%. Jambo lingine ambalo nimeliona ni lizuri tena, amesema ya kwamba pesa ambazo zitakuwa ni za uangalizi za Senate na pamoja na National Assembly. Hizo kwa sababu sisi tumekuwa tukifanya kazi hizi zetu za uangalizi, unazunguka ukitumia mshahara wako. Kwa hivyo inakuwa ni vigumu sana, lakini sasa tukiwa na hizi hela, utazitumia hizi hela, hata unaweza kupata wahandisi ambao watakuwa wakiangalia mabarabara yetu ukitumia hizi hela, na hili ni jambo ambalo litakuwa na manufaa, na kazi itaweza kuifanya kwa uadilifu, na itakuwa ni kazi ambayo tunaitekeleza na tutaweza kuangalia, kwa sababu imekuwa ni kama hata inakuwa ni vigumu sisi kama senator kufanya kazi. Unakumbuka tulipigana hapa, ilikuwa ni vita vya nguo kuchanika, tukijaribu kusema pesa za zile zinazoenda katika kaunti zetu ni mpaka ziongezwe. Tulikuwa tukipewa bilioni 310, tukasukuma mpaka tukapata bilioni 370. Lakini baada hata ya kupata hizo hela, sisi tunazipeleka katika kaunti, lakini hatuna zile hela ambazo zinapaswa zitumike ndio sisi tuweze kuangalia zile pesa ambazo tumeteka katika kaunti zetu. Kwa hivyo
the legends and familiar charms will grace KBC once again. Don't need...
风声在沙沙作